Good evening, America, Facebook friends, fans, and friends. Thank you for joining me tonight. We're going to have a pre-debate show and analysis for the second presidential debate. It's town hall style, and it's out of St. Louis, Missouri. And I'll let some people join in here, and I'm going to watch you so I can be able to see your comments tonight. And we're going to go from there. This has been one hell of a roller coaster ride this week for all of us. I've been up for 2 days straight, thanks to Donald Trump and our fucked up media making a story about a tape that, to distract everybody from the Clinton emails. Let's get to the bottom of this. And the media sits there and goes, I wonder why this story is only the main story in the news today. Well, you put it there. You decided to do that. And there's some great information that came out in those emails having to do with Maggie Hagerman from the New York Times, and has to do with a leak from WikiLeaks, and that's Clinton's insider at the New York Times, besides them being on the Clinton pay-for-play list. New York Times, boycott them. I wouldn't buy their newspaper if you fucking paid me. Bottom line. End of story. I wouldn't pay them. And I'm checking out to see who's joining in here right now. And here we go. I'm getting everybody's comments, so you can talk so I can see your comments. I'll be able to see all your comments. And again, welcome to the second annual president debate. It's a pre-date for that. That's what you get for being up for 2 days straight. You know what I mean? Dealing with Hillary's bullshit. That's exactly what happens. You misspeak, you slur your words. I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off dealing with Donald Trump stuff. Donald, those remarks were not cool, but we all forgive you, and it's very cool. The polls came out that 91% of people in Ohio and other states are all for you, and they forgive you. So that's a good thing. Republicans, top Republicans, they sold you out. But remember one thing, everybody. This has been the media story for the past 24 hours, that the Republicans are jumping ship. Remember that these same Republicans are the same Republicans that didn't back Donald Trump when he was running to be the candidate. So he doesn't need them to begin with. So this is a point America needs to understand. And Pence is not going anywhere. Pence is not going anywhere. I've been getting lots of messages. Is Pence staying, going? Is he jumping ship? Is he an inside informant? Is he this or that? No, Pence is staying. Pence is a good man. And there was a lot of talk that Pence was going to be taking his place. And he's not. And the top Republicans, the sellouts, including John McCain, which I really don't like John McCain, no disrespect. I have respect for what he went through as a criminal of war and as a prisoner. But I don't like John McCain. And most of these Republicans, and I'm going to make this clear to everybody, on both sides of this has been a setup, an ambush for Donald Trump, because they do not want Donald Trump in power. Both certain Republicans and pretty much all the Democrats, especially Hillary, because they know if Donald Trump becomes president, or when he becomes president, he is going to clean house. He's going to, first thing, prosecute and ask for special prosecution of Hillary Clinton. And there's rumors coming in my inside source from inside the FBI and other people, and it's been trailing in the media a little bit, is that the FBI has got its own mutiny going on against Clinton. And this is pretty factual stuff here. A lot of FBI agents want to prosecute Hillary Clinton, and they rightfully should, because there's a lot of good agents within the FBI, and they know there's been a grave injustice to the American people as well. Comey's a sellout. Comey's on the Clinton Foundation, was on the Clinton Foundation board. He was basically placed there to be a stooge. In fact, sad to say, but Comey, you sold out America, and you're a traitor too. I would indict you too. Bottom line, they should all be indicted. If this tape from 10 years ago was not leaked, and if the media, the corrupt bought media, CNN, CNBC, the Times, and they are all on the pay-for-play list from the Clinton Foundation, fact. If this tape did not come out and the media wasn't instructed to make such a big deal about it as a distraction, people would be focusing on what really needs to be focused on, which is the emails that were just dumped by WikiLeaks showing that Hillary Clinton is a true globalist, where she states she basically wants to live in harmony with the world and wants open borders. Open borders. They want to stream people into this country, and yet when she's out campaigning, she says something totally different. Totally different. She's a sellout to the American people, and it's been one scandal, one lie after another lie, another scandal after another scandal. And then people have the balls to say, well, we're not electing Bill Clinton. Why bring up Bill Clinton's past? Well, I think you're going to forget that Bill Clinton's going to be back in the White House if Hillary gets elected. He's going to be first lady. Think about that. He's going to be first lady. And we all know when Bill was president, think of him as first lady, what he's going to be doing. He's going to be knocking up everything that doesn't move on the White House. He'd probably be knocking up the gardeners outside if they're pretty. You know? Anybody who screwed Bill Clinton, ladies, I'm sorry. You really got bad taste. Unless Bill's hung well, and from what I'm being told, his hands are much smaller than Donald Trump's. I mean, and that's, you know, that's, I don't know what you see in that. I just don't know what you see in that. Ugh. And all my viewers, they're all messaging me like, oh, I would never vote for Donald Trump. And I have to say that to everybody. And I'm going to see who's tuning in here now, because I have to say that to everybody. Hi, Michelle. How are you? Love Pence. Yes, he's your governor. God bless Pence. Hi, Tony. How are you? Thank you for joining us. And I do have earbuds in so everybody I can hear the debate when it's going on. And that'll be coming up here in about 10 minutes. We'll be going live to the debate. Thank you, Danny, very much. This is the only place you'll watch the debate. I love that. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Hi, Misty. How are you? Hi, Sven. What's up, my man? How are you? Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Jeffrey. Hi, Steve. I'm glad you guys could all tune in. Hi, Bob. How are you? I can't wait to see what is going to take place tonight and what Trump's strategy is, as well as Clinton's strategy. The first question is going to be about the tape, and that's already been announced by CNN. And, you know, we already know CNN's a sellout. We already know the last debate was basically fixed. The word is, and it's pretty factual from an inside Clintonite, from a staff member, that she got the questions a week before. And if you watch that debate, she was prepared, knew every question. And the questions being asked of Donald Trump were you know, it was an ambush. This is a little different. Town hall, it's more Donald Trump style. So we'll see. And I'm sure there's going to be, it's a Gallup poll who picks the audience. And hopefully they'll ask some great questions. So you got 50% audience questions tonight, and then you have 50%, the host who's going to be asking the questions. So it's 50-50. So we're going to see what happens. I'm curious to see. Hi, Cynthia. How are you? Hi, Carmela. Thanks for joining in. Thank you, Angela. Thank you for thanking me. Hi, Christy. How are you? Thank you guys for sharing everything. You've been wonderful. And I want everybody to know this will be the page where my show is going to be. You'll still see my live videos that I do when I'm traveling or, you know, here or there. But I want you to know this is going to be the platform for my show, telling it like it is. Hi, Mary. How are you? Hi, Angela. The Clinton News Network. Yes, CNN, the Clinton News Network. You got that right. You got the Clintons own everybody. And here's the point, everybody. Right now, as I've talked about, and everybody's agreed pretty much with me, and what I'm hearing from across America and from inside states, everything, a lot of people are switching from Democrat to Republican as we speak. Donald Trump has done something no other candidate has ever done. And what that is he's brought out people who have never voted before to vote. And then you have the top of the Republicans, the head of the Republican Party, Ryan, who's a total sellout, jumped and threw him in, and he got booed the other day when he came out when Donald Trump was supposed to be with him. He got booed. And I think the rest of them, they jumped ship too fast because they thought this was going to sink Donald Trump. And to be honest with you, yes, it was a very crude statements being made. One thing I'm going to point out again before this debate begins, and I believe Donald Trump will come out and re-apologize again firsthand if he doesn't drop a bombshell, which could be, and I'm not going to get into that because there could be a bombshell coming. There's been talk about it, and I've had it told to me, and we'll see what happens. Maybe he'll drop it, maybe he won't. I want to ask you all a question here. We got 5 minutes to go. How would you have Donald Trump come out? Would you have him come out aggressive and attack Hillary Clinton and use Bill and his past? Or how she responded to Bill's conduct? Or would you have him stick to the topics? Like, no border, open borders, jobs, security, you name it. I mean, what would you have Donald Trump do? I'm curious to see what you have to say. Very curious. Because they're like polling this stuff, and I'm curious to see really what America wants. And I heard what they were saying, and I know what people are saying to me. Hi, Robert. How are you? Hi, Linda. Calm and smile. Hi, Scott. Hi from Minnesota. Cheryl, how are you? Smooth and slick and sly. I love it. Okay. Mike Tyson style from Deanna. Hi, Deanna. Stick to topics and ignore her. Ma, good idea. I agree with you. Obamacare. Good point, Bob. There's something that just came out yesterday that not yesterday, I'm sorry, Friday, that I don't think anybody really has paid attention to because everybody's been paying attention to Donald Trump's 10-year-old bus tape. Obamacare, just so everybody knows, by November is going to jump anywhere from 25 to 50% hike in its cost. 25 to 50% hike in its cost from November. How many people Obamacare was supposed to be for Attack Foundation, William? Yes. Obamacare was supposed to be that everyone could afford medical coverage. Obamacare is the biggest bust that America's ever seen. And I want to remind you all of something. If you elect Hillary Clinton, you're going to be stuck with Obamacare and extreme medical prices. And you'll be lucky to get medical. And it was supposed to be, do you remember Obama? You can keep your own doctor. He was asked over and over and over in public every time he was selling Obamacare. You can keep, the big question was, can I keep my own doctor? Can I keep my own doctor? Can I choose my own doctor? You can keep your own doctor. You can choose your own doctor. Obama, you're a blowjob. You lied. You lied. You lied. You lied to the American people. Because you want to know why? You can't keep your own fucking doctor. Okay? Fact check that, the fact checkers. Hillary's got, fact check this when she was on the last debate. Fact check that, which is probably a signal to the asshole. Oh, yeah, hi. And she's like, yeah, yep. Sure, Donald. Whatever you say. Hillary's wicked. All you got to do is look at her. So, but anyway, just so you know, and you can fact check it, the announcement has come out that by mid-November, Obamacare is going to be through the roof. And I hope it's a good topic that you brought up because somebody should ask him about Obamacare because we will all be stuck with this horrible health care that people can't afford. And it was another lie by the Obama camp to sell you this. And yes, they're doing intros on TV right now. I can see that. Clintons are coming out. Here we go. Let me turn this on so I can see this, everybody. Hang in there with me.
We appreciate all your cooperation in advance, and we'll start shortly. Great to see you all.
I'm going to get this up, so I want to do this so I can listen to the debate with you, and I'm going to fact check Hillary. How's that? Okay, let me get my sound set. We're good to go. Voter registration takes less than 2 minutes. Of course it does. You don't need a fucking ID in this country. What's wrong with that picture? Takes less than 2 minutes to register. They already caught the Democrats in how many states now for rigging poll and for dead people? The lady goes, she's taking ballots from this young kid in Virginia. He's got 20 ballots he's filing, and the lady goes, wait a second. And nobody would have caught him. Nobody would have caught him unless the lady said, I know this guy, he's dead. That's what she said. And she called the authorities and they caught him. Oh, everybody's nice and quiet in there. Here we go. Let's see what's going on. Oh, there goes my earbud. This is what happens when you spend $200 on Chinese crap. How about what if we elect Donald Trump? It'll be made in America again, and it'll last. I can't even get to stay in my ear. $200 earbuds. What the fuck is wrong with that picture? Middle of the debate, everybody's quiet. Should let me in there. Oh, there's Chelsea. She's smiling away. Yeah, she's got so many offshore corporations tied to her parents. I've already released the partial list. She's smiling all right. She's making billions. All being funneled through the Clinton Foundation. You know, Bill Clinton had the nerve to they formed another offshore corporation just last week to handle more donations for the hurricane for Haiti. Haitians run. They're already still in tents and cardboard boxes. Fact, they only did 10%. They only used 10% of the hundreds of millions they got for Haiti. And Haiti's prior president to the Senate has come out, I posted the video, begging Donald Trump to please do everything he could to be elected because he wants the Clintons prosecuted for robbing Haiti. And the video is on my wall, and it's direct from him, and it was at a Trump rally a few months ago. And that's why you'll see Haitians protesting at UN. You'll see them at Clinton rallies, and they won't show you that. Mass media won't show you that. Oh, look at that picture of the both of them. Yikes. Yeah, we're gonna how many commercials we're gonna have? Oh, yikes. POTUS news. This should be interesting. I can't wait to see this. This is, I'm going to say this to everybody right now. This is a must-win for Trump. This is a must-win for Trump. Most people think it's a must-win for Trump. I think it's a must-win for Trump, but I still see people not changing their mind, really. So here's the problem. And I'm going to keep talking. There's Donald Trump. I'm going to keep talking because the problem is this. Donald Trump is predicted to win the popular vote, and Hillary Clinton seems to be locked in for the electoral vote. And it's up to America to change that. And I put a video up of George Soros discussing this on how basically he bought it and guaranteed that Hillary Clinton was going to win. That's the rigging of this election. Careful with the argot language. My language is my language. That's what makes me me. I stay real that way. I actually get complimented for using the word a lot. But I prayed all day. Very good, Danny. You should be praying. We all should be praying as a country. Because if Hillary Clinton's elected, we're in very deep trouble. And that's the truth. What's shocking to me is that it's rigged. Yes, Valerie, it's rigged, all right. Hi, Michael. How are you? How can we change that? We can change that by ensuring that everyone votes, everyone keeps sharing. Just so you know, yesterday the trending top tag and stories on Facebook was WikiLeaks. It wasn't the tape anymore, it's dropped down, and the tape has dropped down as well. Way down now in what's trending. WikiLeaks is trending at the moment. And that's because of all of you sharing posts about Hillary Clinton, about WikiLeaks, about the truth. And that's what mainstream media is covering up. That's what they're doing. They want to cover this up. And one of the WikiLeaks that was documents that they released was a strategy memo. And I posted it on my wall on how they were going to do this. And they are doing it just that way. They called Donald Trump the Pied Piper, and at that time they were planning it was either going to be Ted Cruz or Donald Trump, and they said that they were going to use the media and their connections in the media to build these, whether it was Ted Cruz that got the nomination or Donald Trump, and they were going to build them up, let the media build them up, let them look like the superstars, that they wanted them to be the superstars, and then they were going to rail them. And muddy, the words are muddy their reputations using the media. And that's what's happening. And America's allowing that. We actually are allowing that. We should be demanding from the press much more. And as I tell you that, you should be not watching these shows. You should not be watching these stations. You shouldn't be tuning into them. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you so much. I'm trying to expose all the truth I can. Hi, Kurt. How are you? Hi, Charlie. What's the point in voting? We still have to vote. We still have to vote. For everybody saying they don't want, let's put MSM out of business. I agree. They're starting. Yes.
The people you
coming
see
on
on this stage,
okay, we'll go to the debate, and I'll take some questions when the debate's over as well. So, as long as Facebook allows me, usually they'll let me shoot 2 hours live or longer, and I've never had a problem with that. So we'll see. Everyone pray. Thank you guys for all tuning in.
First time this morning. Anderson and I and our
Australia supports you, Scott. Thank you so much, DS. I appreciate that. A lot of Australians are supporting Trump as well, and a lot of people from the UK. All right, let's get to this debate.
Questions as we can. So we've asked the audience here not to slow things down with any applause, except for now. Ladies and gentlemen, the Republican nominee for President, Donald J. Trump, and the
Geez, can they be any more quieter? Like,
Hillary
it's like
Clinton.
we're at church. Can you hear all the angels in heaven? That's what that is. Hopefully. Here they come. Trump. Let's see if she shakes his hand. Come on. Supposing she wasn't going to even shake his hand. Let's see. Do it.
Thank you very much for being here. We're going to begin with a question from one of the members in our town hall. Each of you will have 2 minutes to respond to this question. Secretary Clinton, you won the coin toss, so you'll go first. Our first question comes from Patrice Brock. Patrice?
This guy's a real jerk off here.
Thank you and good evening. The last
He's the size, he reminds me of Mr. Peanut.
Rated
White
as
hair.
MA
Top hat.
per TV parental guidelines. Knowing that educators assign viewing the presidential debates as students' homework, do you feel you are modeling appropriate and positive behavior for today's youth?
Chelsea Clinton.
Thank
Yikes.
you. Are you a teacher? Yes, I think that that's a very good question.
How come I can't hear the questions?
I've heard
What's going
from
on here?
lots of teachers and parents about some of their concerns about some of the things that are being said and done in this campaign. And I think it is very important for us to make clear to our children
I think there's a
that
delay.
our country really is great because we're good. And we are going to respect one another, lift each other up.
Sure, Hillary. Sure.
We are going to be looking for ways
Hillary.
to celebrate
Yep.
our diversity.
Yeah.
And we are going to try to reach out to every boy and girl as well as every adult.
I bet you they got you all drugged up
to
tonight,
bring
though.
them in to working on behalf of our
So you
country.
don't bobble around
I have
like
a
a
very
doll.
positive and optimistic view about what we can do together. That's why the slogan of my campaign is Stronger Together. Because I think if we work together, if we overcome the divisiveness that sometimes sets Americans against one another, and instead we make some big goals, and I've set forth some big goals, getting the economy to work for everyone, not just those at the top, making sure that we have the best education system from preschool through college and making it affordable, and so much else. If we set those goals and we go together to try to achieve them, there's nothing, in my opinion, that America can't
Look at him.
So that's why I hope that we will come together in this campaign.
Complete jerk off.
Obviously, I'm
Complete
hoping
jerk
to
off,
earn your
Nancy
vote.
Coopers. Everybody
I'm
should see
hoping to
that.
be elected in November, and I can promise you I will work with every American. I want to be the president for all Americans, regardless of your political beliefs, where you come from, what you look like, your religion. I want us to heal our country and bring it together, because that's, I think, the best way for us to get the future that our children and our grandchildren deserve.
Secretary Clinton, thank you. Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I actually agree with that. I agree with everything she said. I began this campaign
Bravo, Donald.
because I was so tired of seeing such foolish things happen to our country. This is a great country. This is a great land. I've gotten to know the people of the country over the last year and a half that I've been doing this as a politician. I cannot believe I'm saying that about myself, but I guess I have been a politician. And my whole concept was to make America great again. When I watch the deals being made, when I watch what's happening with some horrible things like Obamacare, where your health insurance and health care is going up by numbers that are astronomical, 68%, 59%, 71%. When I look at the Iran deal and how bad a deal it is for us, it's a one-sided transaction where we're giving back $150 billion to a terrorist state, really the #1 terrorist state. We've made them a strong country from really a very weak country just 3 years ago. When I look at all of the things that I see and all of the potential that our country has, we have such tremendous potential, whether it's in business and trade, where we're doing so badly. Last year, we had an almost $800 billion trade deficit. In other words, trading with other countries, we had an $800 billion deficit. It's hard to believe, inconceivable. You say, who's making these deals? We're going to make great trade deals. We're going to have a strong border. We're going to bring back law and order. Just today, policeman was shot, 2 killed, and this is happening on a weekly basis. We have to bring back respect to law enforcement. At the same time, we have to take care of people on all sides. We need justice. But I want to do things that haven't been done, including fixing and making our inner cities better for the African-American citizens that are so great, and for the Latinos, Hispanics. And I look forward to doing it. It's called Make America
Here
Great
it comes.
Again.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
The
The
ambush.
question from Patrice was about, are you both modeling positive and appropriate
Here it
behavior
comes.
for today's youth? We received a lot of questions online, Mr. Trump, about the tape that
Setup.
was released on Friday. As you can imagine,
Sexual
you called what
assault?
you
That's
said
not sexual
locker room
assault,
banter.
you
You described kissing women
fucking
without
idiot.
consent, grabbing their genitals. That is sexual assault.
That was some
You bragged that
BS
you've
statement.
sexually
That's not
assaulted
sexual
women.
assault.
You understand that?
No, I didn't say that at all. I don't think you understood what was said. This was locker room
What
talk.
law enforcement
I'm not
agency
proud
would
of it.
consider that
I
sexual
apologize
assault?
to my family. I apologize to the American people. Certainly,
Anderson,
I'm not proud of it.
you do know what
But
sexual
this is
assault
locker room
is,
talk.
right?
You know, when we have a world where you have ISIS chopping off heads,
Yeah, exactly.
where you have,
Complete
and
jerk
frankly,
off.
drowning people in steel cages, where you have wars and horrible, horrible sights all over, where you have so many bad things happening. This is like medieval times. We haven't seen anything like this, the carnage all over the world. And they look and they see. Can you imagine the people that are frankly doing so well against us with ISIS? And they look at our country and they see what's going on. Yes, I'm very embarrassed by it. I hate it. But it's
Complete
locker
jerk
room
off with an
talk,
ambush
and
question.
It's one of those
Calling
things.
it
I
a
will
sexual
knock
assault.
the hell out of
A
ISIS.
comment? Sexual
We're gonna
assault
defeat
to another
ISIS.
man?
ISIS
Who's he
happened
assaulting?
a number of years ago. in
Who
a
the
vacuum
fuck is
that
he
was left
assaulting?
So,
because of bad judgment. And I will tell you,
Unbelievable.
I will take care of ISIS.
Mr.
And
Trump-
we'll
Anderson
get on to
Cooper, you're a
much more
sellout and a stooge.
important things and much bigger things.
just for the record,
Unbelievable.
though, are you saying that what you said on that bus 11
Here he
years
goes.
ago, that you did not actually kiss women without consent or grope women without
I
consent?
have great respect for women. Nobody has more respect for women than I do.
So for the record,
I
you're
said-
saying you
I
never
said
did that?
things that, frankly, you hear these things are said, and I was embarrassed by it. But I have tremendous respect for women.
Tell him
You
about
have
Hillary's
respect
open
for
borders,
me.
Donald. Throw
And I
it
will
back
tell
on
you,
her.
No, I have not. And I will tell you that I'm going to make our country safe. We're going to have borders in our country, which we don't have now. People are pouring into our country, and they're coming in from the Middle East and other places. We're going to make America safe again. We're going to make America great again, but we're going to make America safe again. And we're going to make America wealthy again.
Here he
because
goes.
If you don't do that,
Cooper, you're a sellout.
it sounds
Oh,
harsh to say.
boy, here
but
we go.
have
I
to
can't
build
wait
up
to
the
hear
wealth of
this.
our
Thank you,
nation.
Mr. Trump.
Right now, other nations are taking
Lying,
our jobs and they're taking our wealth.
lying.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
that's
Trump.
what I want to
Piece
talk
of
about.
Secretary
trash.
Clinton, do you want to respond?
Talk about assault?
Well,
All
like
those threats you
everyone
made
else,
to
I've
Bill
spent a lot of time
Clinton's
thinking
rapists?
over the last 48 hours.
Alleged, the alleged rapes again that he
about
so
what
bought
we
off in
heard
court.
and
In
saw.
court.
You know, with
Now that
prior Republican
is assault.
nominees for president, I disagreed with them on politics,
You're
policies,
different. You're a
principles,
whack job.
but I never
sociopath.
questioned their fitness to serve. Donald Trump is different.
Yeah, I'd be eating
I said
popcorn like him
starting
too,
back in
right about
June
now.
that he was not
Sure.
fit to be president and commander-in-chief. And many Republicans
Oh,
and
Donald, you
independents
better
have said
smash
the
this
same
bitch.
thing. What we all saw and heard on Friday was
Oh,
Donald
my
talking
God.
about women, what he thinks about women, what he does
Okay,
to
I'm going to
women.
contain myself now.
And he has said that
Maybe for
the
about
video
one
doesn't
fucking
represent who he
Just
is.
a little bit.
I think it's clear to anyone who heard it that it represents exactly who he is. Because we've seen this throughout the campaign.
Donald,
we have seen him insult women.
You need to switch it
We've
back
seen
on
him
her.
rate women
Who was your debate
on their
coach? If it was
appearance,
Christie, we're in deep
ranking
shit.
them from 1 to 10. We've seen him embarrass women on TV and on Twitter.
Yeah, look at Anderson for sure.
We saw him after the first debate
I know.
spend nearly a week
Thank you, Hillary. I have a new Ferrari, thanks to
denigrating
you.
a former Miss Universe
Thank you to
in
the
the
Clinton
harshest,
Foundation.
most personal terms. So, yes, this is who Donald Trump is.
For sure.
But it's not only women, and it's not only this video that raises
Here
questions
we go.
about his
The ambush and the
fitness
fix
to be our
is in,
president.
people. Sickening.
Because he has also targeted immigrants, African Americans, Latinos, people with disabilities, POWs, Muslims, and so many others. So this is who Donald Trump is. And the question for us, the question our country must answer, is that this is not who we are. That's why, to go back to your question, I want to send a message, we all should, to every boy and girl, and indeed to the entire world, that America already is great, but we are great because we are good.
Unbelievable.
And we will respect one another, and we will work with one another, and we will celebrate our diversity.
God help us all.
These are very important values to me, because this is the America that I know and love. And I can pledge to you tonight that this is the America that I will serve if I'm so fortunate enough to become your president.
And we want to get to some questions
Well,
from
am I allowed to
online.
respond to that?
Exactly.
I assume I am.
Yes, you can respond to that.
It's just words, folks. It's just words. Those words I've been hearing them for many years. I heard them when they were running for the Senate in New York, where Hillary was going to bring back jobs to upstate New York, and she failed.
That's it, Donald.
I've
That a
heard
boy.
them where Hillary is constantly talking about the inner cities of our country.
Exactly, with her hand
which
out.
is education-wise, job-wise,
She left
safety-wise.
New York horrible.
In every way possible.
Up, here comes the
I'm going to help
ambush.
the African Americans. I'm going to help the Latinos,
Let him finish.
Hispanics. I am going to help the inner cities. She's done a terrible job for the African Americans.
Here we go.
She wants their vote, and she does nothing. And then she comes back 4 years later. We saw that firsthand when she was
That's
United
because
States
you made it
Senator.
that way, as the media.
Where the
Because you've been paid to do
Mr.
that.
Trump, I want to get to
As
audience
WikiLeaks
questions and
document
online
plan
questions.
shows.
So she's allowed to do that, but I'm not allowed to.
You're going to get to
Sounds fair.
respond right now.
That sounds fair.
This tape is generating intense interest. In just 48 hours, it's become the single most talked about story of the entire 2016 election on Facebook, with millions and millions of people discussing it on the social network. As we said a moment ago, we do want to bring in questions from voters around the country.
Can we get on to the real
social
topics,
media, And our
please?
first stays on this topic. Jeff from Ohio asks on Facebook, Trump says the campaign has changed him. When did that happen? So, Mr. Trump, let me add
Enough
to that.
BS.
When you walked off
Get
that
off the
bus
tapes.
at age 59, were you a different man, or did that behavior continue until just recently? And you have 2 minutes for
As
this.
I told you, that was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I am a person who has great
That's
respect
correct.
for
He was
people,
impeached
for my
for just
family,
one
for
of them.
people in
Lost his law license.
and certainly I'm not proud of it. But that was something that happened.
There we go. Now
if
that.
you look at Bill Clinton, words and his was action. His was what he's done to women. There's never been anybody in the history of politics in this nation that's been so abusive to women. So you can say any way you want to say it, but Bill Clinton was abusive to women. Hillary Clinton attacked those same women.
I take that back,
And
Chris Christie.
attacked them
smoke a
viciously.
cigar with
4
you
of
any
them
day,
are here
my man.
tonight. One of the women, who is a wonderful woman, was raped at 12. Her client, she represented, got him off, and she's seen laughing on 2 separate occasions, laughing at the girl who was raped. Kathy Shelton, that young woman, is here with us tonight. So don't tell me about words. I apologize
I've
for
talked
those
to
words.
Paula as well, everybody, so
But
just
it
so you know
is
that she's going to be one of my
things
guests.
that people say
along with one of the Benghazi
President
moms.
Clinton did. He was impeached. He lost his license to practice law. He had to pay an $850,000 fine to one of the women, Paula Jones, who's also here
Don't
tonight.
open your mouth, bitch.
And I will tell you that when Hillary brings up a point like that, and she talks about words that I said 11 years ago.
Those are exact facts. Fact check that, everybody on the internet.
I think she
Fact
should
check.
be ashamed of herself if you want to know the truth.
Oh, you brought up the fucking
please
tape,
hold the
but that's
applause.
okay, right? But he's not
Secretary
allowed to
Clinton, you
answer and
have 2
talk about
minutes.
you and your husband when you guys
Well,
brought up
first,
the tape.
let me start by saying that so much of what he's just said is not right, but he gets to run
Oh,
his campaign
she didn't like you
any
either.
way
Let's
he
bring the
chooses.
tapes
He
up
gets
of
to
Michelle
decide what he
Obama and
wants
how
to
she
talk about.
bashed you when you
Instead
were
of
running.
answering people's questions,
Oh,
talking about our
boy.
agenda, laying out the
Here
plans
we
that
go.
we have that we think can make a better life and a better country, that's his choice. When I hear something like that, I am reminded of what my friend Michelle Obama advised us all. When they go low, you go high.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
look,
he was the first one to.
if
Trump,
this were just
you
about
better-
one video,
Trump, you better hit her
maybe what
hard
he's
after
saying
this.
tonight,
I'm bringing on a Gold
be
Star mom,
understandable.
everybody. We're going to tell you what Hillary
everyone
Clinton
can draw
did to
their
her
own
and her
conclusions
child
at
and her
this
son,
point
and I'm going to show
about
you
whether or
what
not the man in the
she did.
video or the man on the
Oh,
stage
you're the one who
respects
said
women.
it doesn't matter, they're dead.
But he never apologizes
You didn't apologize
for anything
either
to
for
anyone.
shit.
He never apologized to Mr. and Mrs. Khan, the Gold Star family, whose son, Captain Khan, died in the line of duty
Oh boy, here
in
we
Iraq.
go.
And Donald
Here we
insulted
go.
and attacked
Exactly.
them
I'm
for
doing the
weeks
fucking egg
over their
dance.
religion. He never apologized to the distinguished federal judge.
You've never apologized for
Who was born in
anything, Hillary,
Indiana.
except, oh, I'm sorry, I
But
made a
Donald said he
mistake.
couldn't be trusted to be a judge because
You
his
owe
parents were,
American
quote,
apology.
Mexican.
You need to step down.
He never apologized to the
You
reporter
shouldn't even be
that he
standing on that
mimicked
stage.
and
you
mocked on
hypocritical,
national
lying
television, and our
piece of
children were
trash.
watching. And he never apologized
Come on,
for the
Donald.
racist lie that President Obama was not born in the United States of America. He owes the president an apology. He owes our country an apology. And he needs to take responsibility for his actions and his words.
Well, you owe the president an apology because, as you know very well, your campaign, Sidney Blumenthal, he's
Bravo.
another real winner that you have. And he's the one that got this started along with your campaign manager. And they were on television just 2 weeks ago. She was saying exactly that. So you really owe him
Attaboy.
an apology. You're the one that sent the pictures around your campaign.
Pull 'em up,
sent
y'all,
the
on
pictures
YouTube.
around
There's
with
tons of
President
them.
Obama in a certain garb. That was
Hear what
long
Michelle
before I was
Obama
ever
said
involved.
about
So
Hillary
you
Clinton
actually
when
owe
Barack
an
was running
apology.
against her.
Number two, Michelle Obama. I've gotten to see the commercials that they did on you. And I've gotten to see some of the most vicious commercials I've ever seen of
That a boy.
Michelle Obama talking about you, Hillary.
She had to step
you
down
talk
and
about
resign because of
friend.
that.
Go back and take a look at those commercials. A race where you lost.
He was a
fair and
sign off
square,
because he signed.
unlike the Bernie Sanders
he got
race
picked.
where
Pow, exactly.
you won,
Bye-bye,
but not
bitch.
fair and square,
You're
in my
toast.
opinion. And all you have to do is take a look at WikiLeaks and just see what
Donald,
they
you
said
are
about
doing
Bernie
phenomenal.
Sanders and see what Deborah Wasserman Schultz
Look at her laughing,
had
everybody.
in
Look
mind.
at her having
Because
the
Bernie
balls to
Sanders,
laugh
between
about deleting
superdelegates and Deborah
33,000
Wasserman
emails.
Schultz, he never had a chance. And I was so surprised to see him sign on with the devil. But when you talk about apology, I think the one that you should really be apologizing for, and the thing that you should be apologizing for, are the 33,000 emails
Here it comes.
that you deleted and that you acid washed. And then the 2 boxes of emails and other things last week that were taken from an office and are now missing. And I'll tell you what, I didn't think I'd say this, but I'm going to say it. And I hate to say it. But if I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation, because there has never been so many lies, so much deception. There has never been anything like it.
Look at her laughing,
And
everybody. Look at this woman laughing.
when I speak, I go out
She's
and speak.
sick. I hope she seizures out. I hate to say that, but I hope she just flips out.
In my opinion, the people that have been long-term workers at the FBI are furious. There has never been anything like that with emails, and you get a subpoena. You get a subpoena, and after getting the subpoena, you delete 33,000
As she was
emails.
laughing.
And then you acid wash them, or bleach them, as
What?
you would say, a very expensive process. So we're going
Oh
to get a
my
special
God, it's
prosecutor,
false?
and we're going to look into it, because you know what? People have been, their lives have been
You
destroyed
admitted
for doing
deleted emails.
1/5 of what you've done, and it's
You
a
never
disgrace.
deleted your
And
emails?
honestly, you ought to be ashamed.
She
of
just
yourself.
told you all that's
I want
false.
to follow up on that. I'm going to let you
just
talk
quickly
about
say,
emails.
because
Oh,
everything
yes,
you
with
just
your
said
fact
is
checker. Did you
absolutely
delete the
false,
emails?
but I'm not surprised. In the first debate,
You're laughing.
And we
in the
really,
first
the
debate,
audience needs to
I
calm
told
down
people
here.
that it would be impossible to be
Hillary,
fact-checking
you deleted
Donald all
those
the time.
emails.
I'd never get to talk
You
about
lied to
anything
the
I want
FBI.
to
The
do
head of
and
the
how we're
FBI
going
even
to
called you
really
reckless,
make lives
that you
better for
lied.
people. So once again, go to HillaryClinton.com. We have literally Trump. You can
Pow!
fact-check him in
Oh,
real time.
wow, yeah.
Time at the first debate,
Oh my
we had
God, I just
millions
got
of people
straight wood, everybody.
fact-checking,
Oh
so
my
I
God.
expect we'll have
Then it's
millions
just
more
like-
fact-checking because, you know,
Shut up.
it is,
You're a
it's just
peon.
awfully
You're the
good
size
that
of Mr.
someone
Peanut. You're a
with the
blowjob.
temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Pow!
We want to remind the
getting
audience to
roasted.
please not
Oh, you
talk
gotta
out loud.
sit down
Please
now.
do not applaud. You're just
Yeah.
wasting time.
Here it
And
comes.
Secretary Clinton, I do want to follow up on emails. You've said your handling of your
Oh!
emails was a mistake. You
Fact check
disagreed with
that.
FBI Director James Comey, calling your handling of classified
Oh, it's just
information,
a
quote,
mistake.
extremely careless.
So when you send
the
nuclear
FBI
missiles
said
to
that there were
China, that'll be a
110
mistake too,
classified
right?
emails that were
Oh,
exchanged,
sorry.
8 of which were top secret, and that it was possible
You just said it was a
hostile
lie.
actors did gain access to those emails. You don't call that
Oh,
extremely
you're very
careless?
sorry.
Well, Martha, first let me say, and I've
Yeah,
said it
you're
before,
sorry
but I'll
already, as you
repeat it
smashed
because
your
I want everyone
Blackberries
to
with a
hear
hammer
it.
and everybody
That
got
was a
immunity.
mistake, and I take responsibility for using a personal email account. Obviously, if I were to do it
Oh,
over again,
my
I would not. I'm not making
God.
any excuses. It was a mistake,
Oh,
and I
my God,
am
keep
very
lying.
sorry about that. But I think it's also
How
important
50% of Americans
to
still
point
allow this
out
woman,
where
and she
there
has
are
not been
some
prosecuted,
misleading
is-
accusations from critics and others.
Oh, we could tell.
After
Sure
a
you did. You
year-long
took it serious enough to smash it
investigation,
with a
there is
hammer in your
no
BlackBerry,
evidence
and 13
that
of them
anyone
went missing.
hacked the server I was using, and there is no evidence that
Oh, you're
anyone
such a lying,
can point
corrupt
to at all.
piece of trash.
Anyone who says otherwise has no basis.
Yeah,
that
you
any
created
classified
Bin
material
Laden.
ended up in the
Another
wrong
friend
hands.
of
I
yours
take
in the
classified
bushes.
materials very seriously, and always have. When I was on the Senate Armed Services
Can you hear me
Committee,
now?
I was privy to a lot of classified material. Obviously, as Secretary of State, I had some of the most important secrets
Complete jerk
that
off.
we possess, such as going after bin Laden. So I am very committed to taking classified information seriously. And as I said, there is no evidence that any classified information ended up in the wrong hands.
Okay, we're going to move on.
And yet, she didn't know the letter C on a document, right? She didn't even know what that letter meant. You know, it's amazing. I'm watching her go over facts. And she's going after fact after fact. And
Rob,
she's
how's
lying
my
again
sound, bro?
because she said what
Rob.
she did with the emails was fine. You think it was fine to delete
How's my sound?
33,000 emails? I don't think so. She said the 33,000 emails had to do with her daughter's wedding, number one, and a yoga class. Well, maybe we'll give 3 or 4 or 5 or something. 33,000 emails deleted. And now
guys,
she's
I broke
saying
you that
there
story
wasn't
that she
anything wrong.
blackmailed the
And more
Attorney
importantly,
General,
that
and
was
you all said,
after
"Is that
getting a
true,
subpoena.
Scott?"
That
I
wasn't
said, "Yes, it
before. That
is."
was after. She
You
got it
heard
from
it
the
from me.
United States Congress. And I'll be honest, I am so disappointed in Congress.
Oh, what happened?
Including Republicans,
give me some sound.
for allowing this to happen. Our Justice Department, where her husband goes onto the back of an airplane for 39 minutes, talks to the Attorney General days before a ruling is going to be made on her case. But for you to say...
I'm losing the debate
that
feed
there
here
was
for a
nothing
second.
wrong
He's crushing her.
with you
He's crushing her.
deleting
He is crushing her.
39,000 emails.
Donald,
Again,
you're crushing her. You're keeping your
ashamed of
stamina
yourself.
like a
What
good
you
leader should do. Bravo.
The United States
We
Congress.
have to move
America,
on.
pay
Secretary
attention.
Clinton, you can respond. We
He's
got to move
eating
on.
a
I
lot.
want to give the audience
Private sector
a
should be
chance
put
here.
in jail, let alone after getting a subpoena from the United States
Secretary
Congress.
Clinton, you can respond. Then we have to move on to an audience question.
Look, It's just not true. And so please
Oh,
go
you didn't
to
delete them?
personal emails, not official.
33,000?
Not well. We turned over 35,000. So
Oh, yeah.
it was.
What about the other 15,000?
Please allow her to respond. She didn't talk while you talked.
Yes, that's true. I didn't.
Because you
I
have
didn't
nothing
in
to
the
say.
first debate, and I'm going to try not to in this debate because I'd like to get to the questions that the people have brought here tonight to talk to us about.
And get off this question.
Dawn, you're going to have to
Okay,
shut off the
Donald, I
pad.
know you're into big diversion tonight, anything to avoid talking about your campaign and the way it's exploding and the way Republicans are leaving you. But
Let's
let's
see
at
what
least
happens.
focus
Allow her to
on some of
respond.
the
Oh,
issues
really?
that
Yeah, that's what I'm
people
doing.
care
I'm eating
about tonight.
popcorn
Let's
with
get to their
with my
questions.
We have a
deer
question here
in
from
the
Ken
pasture.
Karpowitz. He has a question about
Hillary,
health care. Ken?
you are being
I'd like to know,
crushed.
Anderson, why aren't you bringing
Bravo.
up the emails? I'd like to know.
God,
Why
does he
aren't you
really
getting
brought
even
up
have
the
to
email?
speak
No,
that?
it hasn't. It hasn't. And it hasn't been finished.
You can't
at
hear
all.
me?
Ken Karpowitz has a question.
It's nice to 1-on-3.
Thank you. Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare, it is not affordable. Premiums have gone up, deductibles have gone up, co-pays have gone up, prescriptions have gone up, and the coverage has gone down. What will you do to bring the costs down and make coverage better?
That first one goes to Secretary
Thank
Clinton
you.
because you started out the last one to the audience.
If he wants to start, he can start. No, go ahead. Donald.
No, I'm a gentleman, Hillary. Go ahead.
Secretary Clinton?
Unbelievable. Rob, we're still good with sound, right?
Well, I think
Okay.
Donald's about to say
Cool.
he's going to solve it by repealing
listeners
it
are all
and getting
real.
rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I'm going to fix
Oh,
it
great
because I agree
question.
with you. Premiums have gotten too high, co-pays, deductibles, prescription
Bravo.
drug costs. And I've laid out a series of actions that we can take to try to get those costs down. But here's what I don't want people to forget when we're talking about reining in the costs, which has to be the highest priority of the next president. When the Affordable Care Act passed, it wasn't just that
Ow.
20 million people got
Donald,
insurance who
you
didn't
are
have
on
it
fire
before, but
tonight.
that in and of itself was a good thing. I meet these people all the time, and they tell
Yes,
me
it
what
will
the
be-
difference having that
won't be
insurance
affordable
meant
after November
to them
for
and their
anyone.
families. But
And then you could go to
everybody
jail
else,
for
the
not paying it.
170 million
Shut
of
your
us
mouth.
who get health insurance through
Look
our
at Anderson.
employers,
Complete
got
jerk
big
off.
benefits. Number one, insurance companies can't deny you coverage because
Let's
of a
not forget
pre-existing
that
condition.
you are a liar.
Number two, no
Let's
lifetime
forget
limits,
you even lied about going into the
which
military.
is a big
That came
deal
out
if you
too.
have serious health problems.
Let's
Number
forget,
three,
well, let's not let
women
everybody
can't
forget
be
that you
charged more
lied
than
about
men for
sniper
our health
fire in
insurance,
Bosnia.
which is the way it
Let's
used
not
to be
forget you
before the
lied
Affordable
about-
Care
oh
Act.
my God. The lies
Number
are so
four,
endless.
if you're under 26 and your
sure.
parents have a policy, you
Sure.
can be on that policy until the age of 26, something that didn't happen before. So I want very much to
Yep,
save
employers
what
have had to
works and
reduce
is good
their
about the Affordable Care Act. But we've
employees
got to get
and put them
costs
out of
down.
work
We've
and
got
put
to
them on
provide
part-time
some
so that
additional
they don't
help
have to
to
pay
small
the huge
businesses so that
fees.
they can
And I'm an
afford
employer
to
of many
provide health
companies.
insurance. But if
Shut
we
up.
repeal it, as Donald has proposed, and start over again,
Oh, yes.
all
No,
of
but they can be
those
all
benefits
charged
I
much
just
more,
mentioned
Hillary.
are lost to everybody, not just people
Number
who get
four,
their health insurance
I
on
like
the exchange.
women.
And then we would have to
Yes,
start
that's
all
right,
over
Hillary.
again.
We know you do, and that's
Right now,
okay.
we are
I
at
have nothing against
90%
LGBT.
health insurance
I have
coverage.
nothing. My
That's the
son is
highest
gay.
we've ever
I have no
been
problem.
in our country.
But you could come out and
Secretary
So
admit
I
you
want us to get to
Hillary. It's okay.
100%, but get
We're all
costs
for you.
down
Nobody
and
here
keep
is
quality
biased.
up.
Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
For all of them.
It is such a
Oh,
great
really? You're
question,
putting
and it's
out of
maybe
business.
the
Come on,
question I
Donald.
get almost more than anything else outside of defense.
He says it
Obamacare
wasn't
is a
coming through.
disaster. You know it. We all know it. It's going up at numbers that nobody's ever seen worldwide. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this for healthcare. It's only getting worse. In 17, it implodes by itself. Their method of fixing it is to go back and ask Congress for more money, more and more money. We have right now almost $20 trillion in debt.
Tell her to shut up.
Obamacare will never work. It's very bad health insurance. Far too expensive. And not only expensive for the person that has it, unbelievably expensive for our country. It's going to be one of the biggest line items very shortly. We have to repeal it and replace it with something absolutely
said it.
much less expensive and something that works, where your plan can actually be tailored.
States are
we have to
dropping
get
out
rid
as
of
we
the lines
speak.
around the state, artificial
Fact
lines,
check it.
where we stop insurance
Hillary's
companies
wall.
from coming in and competing because they want, and President Obama and whoever was working on it, they want to leave those lines because that gives the insurance companies essentially monopolies. We want competition. You will have the finest health care plan there is. She wants to go to a single-payer plan, which would be a disaster, somewhat similar to Canada. And if you ever notice, the Canadians, when they need a big operation, when something happens, they come into the United States in many cases because their system is so slow. It's catastrophic in certain ways. But she wants to go to single payer.
Exactly.
Which means
like
the
all
government
businesses
basically
should do. They compete against
rules
one another,
everything.
and it makes it affordable.
Hillary Clinton has been after this for years. Obamacare was the first step. Obamacare is a total disaster. And not only are your rates going up by numbers that nobody's ever believed, but your deductibles are going up. So that unless you get hit by a truck, you're never going to be able to use it. It is a disastrous plan, and it has to be repealed and replaced.
Secretary Clinton, let me follow up with you. Your husband called Obamacare, quote, the
Donald
craziest
is on
thing in
fire
the world,
tonight.
saying that small business
I bet
owners
you the
have been killed,
Republicans
with
are
premiums
eating,
double, coverage cut in half. Was he mistaken, or was his mistake simply telling the truth?
No, I mean, he clarified what he meant, and it's very clear. Look, we are in a situation in our country where if we were to start all over again, we might come up with a different system. But we have an employer-based system. That's where the vast majority of people get their health care. And the Affordable Care Act was meant to try to fill the gap between people who were too poor and couldn't put together any resources to afford health care, namely people on Medicaid. Obviously, Medicare, which is a single-payer system, which takes care of our elderly and does a great job doing it, by the way. And then all the people who were employed, but people who were working but didn't have the money to afford insurance and didn't have anybody, an employer or anybody else, to help them. That was the slot that the Obamacare approach was to take. And like I say, 20 million people now have health insurance. So if we just rip it up and throw it away, what Donald's not telling you is we just turn it back to the insurance companies
Hillary,
the way it used to be.
Bill was very clear what he just said, and he said it was a nightmare. Oh, God, she's so good at lying. Shut your mouth. Can you hear me? Good. You're full of shit. You're full of shit, Hillary. Hillary, shut up. What is he not telling us? Rob? What happened? Rob? Why am I?
You know that because Jonathan Gruber, the architect of Obamacare, he said it was a great lie. It was a big lie.
Shut up,
President Obama said you keep your doctor, you keep your plan. The whole thing was a fraud, and it doesn't work. But when we get rid of those lines, you will have competition, and we will be able to keep pre-existing. We'll also be able to help people that don't have money, because we are going to have people protected. And Republicans feel this way, believe it or not, and strongly this way. We're going to block grant into the states. We're going to block grant into Medicaid into the states so that we will be able to take care of people without the necessary funds to take care of themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
We now go to Gorba Hamid with a question for both candidates.
Just like I said.
Hi. There are 3.3 million Muslims in the United States.
It's common sense.
You've mentioned working with Muslim nations, but with Islamophobia on the rise, how will you help people like me deal with the consequences of being labeled as a threat to the country after the election is over?
Mr. Trump, you're first.
Well, you're right about Islamophobia, and that's a shame. But one thing we have to do is we have to make sure that
you're a sellout,
because there is a problem. I mean, whether we like it or not, and we can be very politically correct, but whether we like it or not, there is a problem. And we have to be sure that Muslims come in and report when they see something going on. When they see hatred going on, they have to report it. As an example, in San Bernardino, many people saw the bombs all over the apartment of the two people that killed 14 and wounded many, many people. Horribly wounded. They'll never be the same. Muslims have to report the problems when they see them. And, you know, there's always a reason for everything. If they don't do that, it's a very difficult situation for our country. Because you look at Orlando, and you look at San Bernardino, and you look at the World Trade Center. Go outside, you look at Paris. Look at that horrible. These are radical Islamic terrorists. And she won't even mention the word, and nor will President Obama. He won't use the term radical Islamic terrorism. Now, to solve a problem, you have to be able to state what the problem is, or at least say the name. She won't say the name, and President Obama won't say the name, but the name is there. It's radical Islamic terror. And before you solve it, you have to say the name.
Secretary Clinton.
Well, thank you for asking your question. And I've heard this question from a lot of Muslim Americans across our country. Because, unfortunately, there's been a lot of very divisive, dark things said about Muslims. And even someone like Captain Khan, the young man who sacrificed himself defending our country in the United States Army, has been subject to attack by Donald. I want to say just a couple of things. First, we've had Muslims in America since George Washington.
Wow. Oh,
and
Hillary,
we've
you're
had
horrible.
many successful Muslims. We just lost a particularly well-known one with Muhammad Ali.
Lie some more. Yep.
My vision of America is an America where everyone has a place.
Divisive and
if you're willing to
dark
work hard,
said about
you
Muslims.
do your part, you contribute to the community. That's what America is. That's what we want
And how
America
about
to
the
be
men
for
you
our
killed in
children, our
Benghazi?
grandchildren.
Yeah.
It's also very short-sighted and even dangerous to be engaging in the kind of demagogic rhetoric that Donald has about Muslims. We need
George
American
Washington would have
Muslims
hung
to
you
be
on the White House lawn
part
for
of
treason
our
already.
eyes and ears on our front lines. I've worked with a lot of different Muslim groups around America. I've met with a lot of them, and I've heard how important it is for them to feel that they are wanted and included and part of our country, part of our homeland security, and that's what I want to see. It's also important, I intend to defeat ISIS, to do so in a coalition with majority Muslim nations. Right now, a lot of those nations are hearing what Donald says and wondering, why should we cooperate with the Americans? And this is a gift to ISIS and the terrorists. Violent jihadist
Sure, you work with Muslim
terrorists.
groups. You pay
We
Saudi
are not
Arabia.
At war with Islam.
Saudi Arabia pays you,
And it is a mistake, and it plays
billions
into the
of
hands
dollars
of the
to your
terrorists
foundation so you
act
can.
as though we
Does
are.
anybody know something?
So I
don't
want
even.
a
Sorry, I'm
country
sure you don't even want to hear
where
her. But
citizens like
do you know Hillary Clinton hasn't
and
driven
your
a car,
family
everybody,
are
since
just as welcome
1996
as anyone
because she
else.
hasn't had
Thank
to?
you, Secretary
because
Clinton.
she's so filthy
Mr. Trump,
rich,
in
and that's
December,
what she
you
said
said
in
this.
these emails. I
Donald
haven't
J.
driven a
Trump
car
is
since
calling for a
1996.
total and complete shutdown
Those
of
nations
Muslims
keep
entering
lining
the
your
United
pockets.
States until our country's
And
representatives
Saudi Arabia,
can
your best
figure
friend,
out what the hell is going
is
on.
the worst.
We have no
has
choice.
the worst
we have
record
no choice.
of women's rights
Your
in the
running mate
world.
said this week that the Muslim
best
ban
friend.
is no longer your position.
We're not
Is
at
that
war with
correct?
Islam?
And if it is,
What the
was
fuck
it a
is
mistake
that?
to have a religious test?
We're not at war with
Captain
Islam.
Khan is an American hero. And
You
if I were president at that time, he would be alive today.
In left field.
Because unlike her, who voted for the war without knowing what she was doing, I would not have had our people
Here
in
comes the
Iraq.
sandbagging.
Iraq was a disaster. So he would
Build
have
a
been alive
fucking
today.
wall.
The Muslim ban is something that in some form
Here
has
comes the
morphed into
sandbasting.
a extreme vetting from certain areas of the world. Hillary Clinton wants to allow
Oh boy.
And why did it
thousands.
morph
Excuse
into
me,
that? No,
excuse
did
me.
you? No, answer the question.
Why
Do
don't
you
you
still
interrupt
believe?
her? You
I do.
interrupt me all the time. Why don't you
Would you
interrupt her?
please
Pow!
explain whether or not the Muslim ban still stands?
It's called extreme vetting. We are going to areas like Syria where they're coming in by the tens of thousands because of
Bravo.
Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton wants to allow a 550% increase over Obama. People are coming into our country like we have no idea
Open
who they
borders.
are, where they're from, what their feelings about our country is,
speak.
and she wants 550% more. This is going to be the great Trojan horse of all time. We have enough problems in this country. I believe in building safe zones. I believe in having other people pay for them. As an example, the Gulf states who are not carrying their weight, but they have nothing but money, and take care of people. But I don't want to have,
she just
with all
stated
the
she
problems
wants
this
open
country
borders.
has, and all of the problems that you see going on, hundreds of thousands of people coming in from Syria when we know nothing about them. We know nothing about their values, and we know nothing about their
let's
love
just
for
let them
our
all come
country.
in, Hillary.
And Secretary Clinton, let me ask you about that, because you have asked for an increase from 10 to 65,000 Syrian refugees. We know you want tougher vetting. That's not a perfect system. So why take the risk of having those refugees come into the country?
Well, first of all, I will not let anyone into our country that I think poses a risk to us. But there are a lot of refugees.
Hillary, shut up.
Women and children. Think of that
Sit
picture
back
we all
down.
saw of that
You can't
4-year-old
stand up.
boy with the blood on his forehead because he'd been bombed by the Russian
She's melting,
and Syrian
everybody.
Air
She's
Forces.
melting.
There are children
Donald Trump is
suffering
smashing her.
in this catastrophic war, largely, I believe, because of Russian aggression. And we need to do our part. We, by no means, are carrying anywhere near the load that Europe and others are. But we will have vetting that is as tough as it needs to be from our professionals, our intelligence experts.
Think about
and
all
others.
the ones that come in
But
that are
it
not
is
women and
important
children
for
that
us
are
as a,
radical Islamic
policy,
terrorists.
not to say,
What about our
as
women and
Donald
children in the
has
United
said,
States,
we're going
Hillary?
to ban people based on a religion. How do you do that? We are a country founded on religious freedom.
Oh, here we
and
go.
liberty.
I told you all she's going to pull the
How do
Russian
we
card.
do what he has advocated
Well, you created
without
ISIS with
causing
Obama.
great distress
Fact
within
check
our own country?
that.
Are we going to have religious tests when people fly into our
just
country?
like you told
And how do we
the nice big
expect to be
bankers.
able
We're going to have
to
open borders
implement
and
those?
allow
So
500
I
and some odd
thought that
thousand
what he
refugees in.
said
You
was
just got caught.
extremely unwise and even dangerous. And indeed, you can look at the propaganda on a lot of the terrorist sites. And what Donald Trump says is to recruit.
And our women and children and the good Muslims in this country and the good American
they want
citizens.
to create a war.
How do we protect
between
them,
us.
Hillary?
And the
How about
final
we
thing I would say,
protect
this
our
is
own
the
first?
10th or 12th time that he's denied being for the war in Iraq. We have it on tape. The entire press corps has looked at it. It's been debunked, but it never stops him from saying whatever he wants to say.
Been debunked.
So please,
You're dangerous.
go to
I was
HillaryClinton.com
against-
and you can see it.
I was
Oh, you're the
against war in
propaganda
Iraq.
queen.
It's not been debunked. And you voted for it, and you shouldn't have. Well, I just
There's
want to
been lots of
say,
fact-checking on that. I'd like to move on to an online question.
she just went
Oh,
about
yes,
25 seconds
sure.
over her time.
She
Could I
did
just
not.
respond to this, please?
Very quickly, please.
Hillary Clinton, in terms of having people come into our country, we have many criminal illegal
Oh, boy,
aliens.
here we go.
When we want to send them back to their country says we don't want them. In some cases, they're murderers, drug lords, drug problems, and they don't want them. And Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, said that's okay. We can't force it into their country.
So
Let me
if
tell
it's
you,
on your
I'm
website,
gonna
Hillary,
force
does that
them
make
right
it
back
true?
into
Like
their
what comes out
country.
of your
They're
mouth?
murderers
God.
and some very bad people. And I will tell you very strongly, when Bernie Sanders said she had bad
I was gonna
judgment,
say,
she has
she was
really
talking.
bad judgment because we are letting people into this
Good job,
country
Donald.
that are going to cause problems and crime like you've never seen. We're also letting drugs pour through our southern border at a record clip.
Look at
At
her
a record
laughing.
clip.
He's getting to her.
It shouldn't be allowed
getting to her.
to happen. ICE just endorsed me.
She
They never
knows she
endorsed
got
the
squashed
presidential
already.
candidate. The Border Patrol agents, 16,500, just recently endorsed me. And they endorsed me because I understand the border. She doesn't. She wants amnesty for everybody. Come right in, come right over. It's a horrible thing she's doing. She's got bad judgment, and honestly, so
Hillary,
bad
you're getting
that she
wasted
should never
tonight.
be president of the United States. That I can tell you.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. I want to
Well,
move
go
on.
talk
This
to
next
Bush about
question
that.
comes from the public through Bipartisan Open Debate Coalition's online forum where Americans submitted questions that generated millions of votes. This question involves WikiLeaks' release of purported excerpts of Secretary Clinton's paid speeches, which she has refused to release, and one line in particular in which you, Secretary Clinton, purportedly say you need both a public and private position on certain issues.
Donald,
So,
keep your tone
two
down.
from Virginia asks, is it okay for politicians to be two-faced? Is it acceptable for a politician to have a private stance on issues? Secretary Clinton,
well,
your 2 minutes.
Hillary's
right.
got this
as I
fixed.
recall, that was something I said about Abraham Lincoln after having seen the wonderful Steven Spielberg movie called Lincoln. It was a master class watching President Lincoln get the Congress to approve the 13th Amendment. It was principled and it was strategic. And I was making the point that it is hard sometimes to get the Congress to do what you want to do, and you have to keep working at it. And yes, President Lincoln was trying to convince some people. He used some arguments. Convincing other people, he used other arguments. That was a great, I thought, a great display of presidential leadership. But, you know, let's talk about what's really going on here, Martha, because our intelligence community just came out and said in the last few days that the Kremlin, meaning Putin and the Russian government, are directing the attacks, the hacking on American accounts to influence our election.
Now we got President Lincoln in it.
WikiLeaks is part of that, as are
you were talking to bankers about what you were doing behind closed doors, and you would not release the
we don't even know if it's accurate information, and
your
then
first,
they put it out. We have never in the history of our country
you refused to release
been in a
the original
situation
transcripts.
where an adversary, a foreign power, is working so hard to influence the outcome of the election.
I called it.
Believe me,
I called it.
They're not doing it to get me elected.
Yep, here it comes.
They're doing it to try to influence the election for Donald Trump.
Let
now,
him
maybe
hack,
because
Hillary,
he has
without
praised
them,
Putin,
we would never
maybe
know the truth
because
about
he
your lying
says he
ass.
agrees with a lot of what
Bravo,
Putin wants to do, maybe because he
And I'm
wants
sure
to
the
do
rest of
business in
America, half
Moscow.
of
I
America
don't know
would
the
agree with me.
reasons. But we deserve answers.
Here it comes. I called
and
it right
we should
before the
demand
debate.
that
I
Donald
told
release
everybody.
all of his tax returns so that people can see what are the entanglements and the financial relationships
Going to get to that later.
he has
Secretary
with
Clinton,
Russians and
you're out
other
of time.
foreign powers.
Mr. Trump.
It's so ridiculous. Look, now she's blaming. She got caught in a total lie. Her papers went out to all her friends
Donald
at the
Trump's
banks,
a Russian
Goldman
spy.
Sachs, and everybody else. And she said things, WikiLeaks, that just came out.
Oh, my God.
And she lied.
Here we
now
go.
she's blaming the lie
I called this 100%
on the late,
right.
great Abraham Lincoln. That's one that I have.
Here it comes. Tax returns.
Okay, Honest Abe. Honest Abe never
Donald.
lied. That's the good thing. That's the big difference between Abraham Lincoln and you. That's a big, big difference. We're talking about some difference.
Donald, don't feed into it.
As far as other elements of what you were saying, I don't know, Putin. I think it would be great if we got along with Russia because we could fight ISIS together as an example, but I don't know, Putin. But I notice anytime anything wrong happens, they like to say, the Russians, she doesn't know if it's the Russians doing the
Abraham
hacking.
Lincoln.
Maybe there is no hacking, but they will blame Russia. And the reason they blame Russia is because they think they're trying to tarnish me with Russia. I know nothing about Russia. I know about Russia, but I know nothing about the inner workings of Russia. I don't deal there. I have no businesses. I have no loans from Russia.
Doing fabulous
I have a
tonight.
very, very great balance sheet. So
Hillary,
great that when
you're
I did the
toast.
old post office on Pennsylvania Avenue, the United States government, because of my balance sheet, which they actually know very well, chose me to do the old post office
It's on the
between the
Russians'
White House
fault.
and Congress. Chose me to do the old post office. One of the primary things, in fact, perhaps the primary thing, was balance sheet. But I have no loans with Russia. You could go to the United States government and they would probably tell you that because they know my sheet very well in order to get that development I had to have. Now, the taxes are a very simple thing.
She's
as soon as I
laughing
have, first
again.
I pay
Look at her.
hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes. Many of her friends took
Donald,
bigger deductions.
don't go
Warren
off the
Buffett
charts.
took a
Calm
massive
down.
deduction. Soros,
down.
who's a friend of hers, took a massive deduction. Many of the people that are giving her all this money that she can do many more commercials than me took massive deductions. I pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes, but as soon as my routine audit's finished, I'll release my returns. I'll be very proud to. They're
Thank you,
actually
Mr.
quite
Trump.
We've got we're on turn, actually, to the topic of taxes. We have a question from Spencer Moss. Spencer?
Good evening. My question is, what specific tax provisions will you change to ensure the wealthiest Americans pay their fair share in
There's
taxes?
the George Soros.
Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
Well, one thing I do is get rid of carried interest. One of the greatest provisions for people like me.
He's
to be
on
honest
fire
with you.
tonight.
I give up a lot when I run because I knock out the tax code. And she could have done this years ago, by the way. She was a United States senator. She complains that Donald Trump took advantage of the tax code. Well, why didn't she change it? Why didn't you change it when you were a senator? The reason you didn't is that all your friends take the same advantage that I do. And I do. You have provisions in the tax code that, frankly, we could change. But you wouldn't change it because all of these people give you the money so you can take negative ads on Donald Trump. And I say that about a lot of things. You know, I've heard Hillary complaining about so many different things over the years. Oh, we should have done this. But she's been there for 30 years. She's been doing this stuff. She never changed, and she never will change. She never will change. We're getting rid of carried interest provisions.
Oh, it's right.
Taxes, actually, because I think it's so important for corporations, because we have corporations leaving, massive corporations and little ones. Little ones
This
can't
is
afford.
awesome.
We're getting rid of regulations, which goes hand in hand with the lowering of the taxes. But we're bringing the tax rate down from 35% to 15%. We're cutting taxes for the middle class. And I will tell you, we are cutting them big league for the middle class. And I will tell you, Hillary Clinton is raising your taxes, folks. You can look at me. She's raising your taxes really high. And
that's right.
What
she
that's
will never
going to
change.
do is a disaster for the country. But she is raising your taxes and I'm lowering your taxes. That in itself is a big difference. We are going to be thriving again. We have no growth in this country. There's no growth. If China has a GDP of 7%, it's like a national catastrophe. We're down at 1%. And that's like no growth.
And middle class built America.
Lower, in my opinion. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that our taxes are so high. Just about the highest in the world. And I'm bringing them down to one of the lower in the world.
Fuming.
And I think it's so important. One of the most important things we can do. But she is raising everybody's taxes massively.
Secretary Clinton, you have 2 minutes. The question was, what specific tax provisions will change to ensure the wealthiest Americans pay their fair share of taxes?
You're gonna cry?
Well, everything you've heard just now from Donald is not true. I'm sorry I have to keep saying this,
Lincoln.
but he lives in an alternative reality. And it is sort of amusing to hear somebody who hasn't paid federal income taxes in maybe 20 years talking about what he's going to do. But I'll tell you what he's going to do. His plan will give the wealthy and corporations the biggest tax cuts they've ever had, more than the Bush tax cuts by at least a factor of 2. Donald always takes care of Donald and people like Donald, and this would be a massive gift. And indeed, the way that he talks about his tax cuts would end up raising taxes on middle-class families.
No, you do, Hillary.
Of middle-class families. Now, here's what I want to do.
An alternative
I have
reality.
said nobody who makes less than $250,000 a year, and that's the vast majority of Americans, as you know, will have their taxes raised. Because I think we've got to go where the money is. The money
into your
is
own
with people who've
foundation,
taken
the Clinton
advantage
Family
of
Foundation, to
every
avoid
single
paying
break
taxes.
in the tax
And I
code. And
posted
yes,
it.
when I was a
You
senator,
lying piece
I
of
did
trash.
vote to close corporate loopholes. I voted to close, I think, one of the loopholes he took advantage of when he claimed
Anderson
$1
Cooper thinks you're full of shit.
loss that enabled him to avoid paying taxes. I want to have
Shut
a
up.
tax
You're so full of
on
shit,
people
Hillary.
who are making $1 million. It's called the Buffett rule. Yes, Warren Buffett is the one who's gone out and said
This
somebody
is
like
hysterical.
him should not be paying a lower tax rate than
If you're a
his
Democrat
secretary.
and you're watching
I want
this,
to have a
please.
surcharge
Your
on incomes
candidate
above
is so
$5
full of
million. We
shit.
have to make up for
It's
lost
like
time
spewing
because
from
I
her
want to
mouth. She got
invest in
toasted
you.
tonight.
I want
She
to
got
invest
roasted.
in hardworking families. And I think it's been unfortunate.
Sure you
but
did.
It's happened.
For the middle
that
class,
since
you
the Great
did, not the big
Recession, the
ones.
gains have all gone to the top. And we need to
Donald
reverse
come back,
that.
but she uses the same
People
tax
like Donald who
that you
paid
do.
0 in taxes, 0 for our vets,
Uh-huh.
0 for our military,
She's
0
getting angry.
for health and education. That is wrong.
Thank you,
And we're
Secretary.
going to make sure that nobody, no corporation
This
and
is
no
hysterical.
individual can get away without paying
She's
his
so full of
fair
shit.
share to
I wanna give
support
you-
our
Make
country.
up for
Mr. Trump, I
lost
wanna give you a
times. How
chance
about
to
you
respond.
turn
I
over
just
your
wanna
Clinton
tell you
Foundation
what she's
records?
referring to. The
Billions
last
and
month,
billions
taxes
of
was the number one
dollars.
issue on Facebook for the first time in the campaign. The
How
New
come
York
you're letting
Times
her speak
published
so
3
long,
pages of your
Anderson?
1995 tax returns. They show you claimed a $960 million loss, which means you could have avoided paying personal federal income taxes for years. You've said
Oh
you pay
my
state
God.
taxes, employee taxes, real estate taxes, property
Come on,
taxes.
Donald.
You have not answered, though, a simple question. Did you use that $916 million loss to avoid paying personal federal income taxes for
Of course I do. Of course I do. And so do all of her donors, or most of her donors. I know many of her donors. Her donors took massive tax write-offs.
So have
A
you
lot
not
of my,
paid personal federal income tax?
a lot of my write-off was depreciation and other things that Hillary, as a senator, allowed. And she'll always allow it because the people that give her all this money, they want it. That's why. See, I understand the tax code better than anybody that's ever run for president. Hillary Clinton, and it's extremely complex, Hillary Clinton has friends that want all of these provisions, including they want the carried interest provision, which is very important to Wall Street people, but they really want the carried interest provision, which I believe Hillary's leaving. It's very interesting why she's leaving carried interest. But I will tell you that, number one, I pay tremendous numbers of taxes. I absolutely used it, and so did Warren Buffett, and so did George Soros.
Look at her
so
laughing.
Did many of the other people.
What's wrong with this woman?
That
she's
Hillary
psychotic.
is getting money from. Now, I won't mention their names because
And
they're
it's
rich,
true.
but
Donald's
they're not
an expert
famous,
in taxes.
so we won't make them famous.
Can you say how many years you have avoided paying personal federal income taxes?
No, but I pay tax and I pay federal tax too.
Hillary turned
But I have a
over the
write-off. A
Clinton
lot of it's
Foundation
depreciation,
records, 'cause
which
I'm
is a
going
wonderful
to.
charge. I love depreciation. You know, she's given it to us. Hey, if she had a problem, for 30 years she's been doing this, Anderson. I say it all the time. She talks about health care. Why didn't she do something about it? She talks about taxes. Why didn't she do something about it? She
Hillary Clinton used
doesn't
it,
do
Donald.
anything about anything other than talk. With her, it's all talk and no action.
In the past,
and again, Bernie Sanders, it's really bad judgment. She has made bad judgment not only on taxes, she's made bad judgments on Libya, on Syria, on Iraq. I mean, her and Obama, whether you like it or not, the way they got out of Iraq, the vacuum they've left, that's why ISIS formed in the first place. They started from that little area, and now they're in 32 different nations, Hillary. Congratulations. Great job.
I want you to be able to respond, Secretary Clinton.
Well, here we go again. I've been in favor of getting rid of carried interest for years, starting when I was a senator from New York.
She's
but
getting
that's
mad.
not the point here.
Why didn't you do it? Why didn't you do it?
Because I was a senator with a Republican president.
Oh, really?
I will
Guys,
be
do you
the
see this
president
woman?
who will
If
get
you
it
were an
done.
effective, if you were an effective senator, you could have done it. If you
Unbelievable.
were an effective senator, you could have done it. But you were
you
not
make
an
me
effective.
She's allowed to respond. She didn't interrupt
Hillary.
You know, under our Constitution, presidents have something called veto power. Look, he has now said repeatedly 30 years this and 30
here it
years
comes.
that. So let me talk
Look at her
about my
laughing.
30
She's
years in
laughing
public
because we're all
service. I'm
peons and
very
she thinks she's
glad
above
to do
us.
so.
Hillary, you're going to look good in
8 million
orange because
kids
Donald's going to put you
every
away.
year have health insurance because when I was First Lady, I worked with Democrats and Republicans to create the Children's Health Insurance Program. Hundreds of thousands of kids now have a chance to be adopted because I worked to change our adoption and foster care system.
Shut up,
After
Anderson.
9/11, I went to work with Republican mayor, governor, and president to rebuild New York and to get health care for our first responders who were suffering because they had run toward danger and gotten sickened by it. Hundreds of
here it
thousands of
comes.
National Guard and Reserve
Here it
members have
comes.
health
Sure you
care
are. You like to hear yourself
because of
speak.
the work that I did. And children have safer medicines because I was able to pass a law that required the dosing to be more carefully done. When I was Secretary of State, I went around the world advocating for our country,
Sure you
but
did.
also advocating for women's rights, to make sure that women had a decent chance to have a better life, and negotiated a treaty with Russia to lower nuclear weapons. 400 pieces of legislation have my name on it as a sponsor or co-sponsor when I was a senator for 8 years. I worked very hard and was very proud to be reelected in New York by an even bigger margin than I had been elected the first time. And as president, I will take that work,
you went
that
around the world, all
bipartisan
right.
work, that
Filling
finding
your
common
pockets
ground.
and paying
Because
you
have
and
to be
pay
able
for
to get
play
along
as
with people to
Secretary
get things
of State.
done in Washington.
Thank you, Secretary.
And I've proven that I can. And for 30 years, I've produced results for
Thank
people.
you, Secretary.
We're going to move on to Syria. Both of you have mentioned that.
She said a lot of things. that
You-
were
you-
false. I mean, I think we should
We
be
can,
allowed
no,
to maybe
Mr. Trump, we're going to
dispute
go
it,
on. This
because
is
she has
about
been
the
a
audience.
disaster.
Sit down,
as a
Hillary.
Mr.
senator.
Trump,
A
we're
disaster.
going to
Sit
move
down.
on.
You belong to
The
sit down in that
heartbreaking
chair.
video of a 5-year-old Syrian boy
should be
named
strapped to an
Amran
electric
sitting
chair.
in an
Sorry,
ambulance
everybody.
after being
He's a
pulled
criminal.
from the
Murderer.
rubble after an airstrike in Aleppo. focused the world's attention on the horrors of the war in Syria.
Anderson, shut
with
her off.
136 million views on Facebook alone. But there are much worse images coming out of Aleppo every day now, where in the past few weeks alone, 400 people have been killed, at least 100 of them children. Just days ago, the State Department called for a war crimes investigation of the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad and its ally, Russia, for their bombardment of Aleppo. So this next question comes from social media through Facebook. Diane from Pennsylvania asks, if you were president, what would you do about Syria and the humanitarian crisis in Aleppo?
We created that war.
Isn't it a lot like the Holocaust when the U.S. waited too long before we helped? Secretary Clinton, we will begin with your 2 minutes.
Hillary Clinton.
Well, the situation in Syria is catastrophic.
Saudi Arabia.
Every day that goes by, we see the results of the regime by Assad in partnership with the Iranians on the ground, the Russians in the air, bombarding places, in particular Aleppo, where there are hundreds of thousands of people, probably about 250,000 still left. And there is a determined effort by the Russian Air Force to destroy Aleppo in order to eliminate the last of the Syrian rebels who were really holding out against the Assad regime. Russia hasn't paid any attention to ISIS. They're interested in keeping Assad in power. So when I was Secretary of State, advocated, and I advocate today, a no-fly zone and safe zone.
We mistakenly just killed, allegedly mistakenly killed 100 Syrian soldiers.
Because they're not going to come to the negotiating table for a diplomatic resolution unless there is some leverage over them. And we have to work more closely with our partners and allies on the ground. But I want to emphasize that what is at stake here is the ambitions and the aggressiveness of Russia. Russia has decided that it's all in Syria. And they've also decided who they want to see become president of the United States, too, and it's not me.
They haven't done anything?
I've stood up to
They
Russia.
did our job,
I've taken
Hillary.
on Putin and others, and I would do that as president. I think wherever we can cooperate with Russia, that's fine. And I did as Secretary of State. That's how we got a treaty reducing nuclear weapons. It's how we got the sanctions on Iran that put a lid on the Iranian nuclear program without firing a single shot. So I would go to the negotiating table with more leverage than we have now.
What I tell you, everybody,
but I do support
everything's Russia.
the effort to investigate for crimes, war crimes committed by the Syrians and the Russians, and try to hold them accountable.
You're not
Thank
safe.
you, Secretary Clinton.
First of all, she was there as Secretary of State with the so-called line in the sand, which...
No, I wasn't. I was gone. I hate to interrupt you,
but you were in
contact.
Contact, excuse me.
At some point, we need
you
to
were
do
in
some
total contact with the White House, and perhaps, sadly, Obama probably still listened to you. I don't think he'd be listening to you very much
and
anymore.
you gave it away with an Iranian
Obama
deal.
draws the line in the sand.
John
It
Kerry
was laughed at all over the world. What happened? Now, with that
Wait till
being
the
said,
next WikiLeaks bomb.
she talks
bitch.
tough against Russia, but our
Tell him,
nuclear
Donald.
program has fallen way behind, and they've gone wild with their nuclear program. Not good. Our government shouldn't have allowed that to happen. Russia is new in terms of nuclear. We are old, we're tired, we're exhausted in terms of nuclear.
You and your fact check.
A very bad thing. Now, she talks tough. She talks really tough against Putin and against Assad. She talks in favor of the rebels. She doesn't even know who the rebels are. You know, every time we take rebels, whether it's in Iraq or anywhere else, we're arming people. And you know what happens? They end up being worse than the people. Look at what she did in Libya with Gaddafi. Gaddafi's out. It's a mess. And by the way, ISIS has a good chunk of their oil. I'm sure you probably have heard that. It was a disaster. Because the fact is, almost everything she's done in foreign policy has been a mistake, and it's been a disaster. But if you look at Russia, just take a look at Russia, and look at what they did this week, where I agree she wasn't there, but possibly she's consulted. We signed a peace treaty. Everyone's all excited. Well, what Russia did with Assad, and by the way, with Iran, who you made very powerful with the dumbest deal perhaps I've ever seen in the history of deal making, the Iran deal with $150 billion, with the $1.7 billion in cash, which is enough cash to fill up this room. But look at that deal. Iran and Russia are now against us. So she wants to fight. She wants to fight for rebels. There's only one problem. You don't even know who the rebels are.
Mr. Trump,
So
Mr.
what's the
Trump, your
purpose?
2 minutes
And one thing
is
I have
up.
to say,
Your 2
I
minutes
don't
is up.
like Assad at all, but Assad is killing ISIS. Russia is killing ISIS, and Iran is killing ISIS. And those three have now lined up because of our weak foreign policy.
Mr. Trump, let me repeat the question. If you
Look
were
at her laughing
president,
again.
what would you do
Kermit,
about
you need to
Syria
enter the
and the
picture.
humanitarian crisis in Aleppo? And I want to
Laughing.
remind you what your running mate
Radical.
said. He said provocations
Whack
by
job.
Russia need
That's
to
who
be
Hillary
met
is.
with American strength, and that if
Up,
Russia
here we
continues
go.
to be involved in airstrikes along with the Syrian government forces of Assad, the United States of America should be prepared to
Fact
use
check that.
military force to strike the military targets of the Assad regime.
Okay. He and I haven't spoken, and I disagree. I disagree.
You disagree
I
with
think
your
we have to
rhetoric.
knock out ISIS.
Sam.
Right now, Syria is fighting ISIS. We have people that want to fight both at the same time. But Syria is no longer Syria. Syria is Russia, and it's Iran, who she made strong, and Kerry and Obama made into a very powerful nation and a very rich nation very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. I believe we have to get ISIS. We have to worry about ISIS before we can get too much more involved. She had a chance to do something with Syria. They had a chance, and that was the line.
What do you think
And
will
she-
happen if Aleppo falls?
I think Aleppo is a disaster
What do
humanitarian
you
wise.
think will
It is a
happen if it falls?
I think that it basically has fallen, okay? It basically has fallen. Let me tell you something. You take a look at Mosul. The biggest problem I have with the stupidity of our foreign policy. We have Mosul. They think a lot of the ISIS leaders are in Mosul. So we have announcements coming out of Washington and coming out of Iraq. We will be attacking Mosul in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Well, all of these bad leaders from ISIS are leaving Mosul. Why can't they do it quietly? Why can't they do the attack, make it a sneak attack, and after the attack is made, inform the American public that we've knocked out the leaders, we've had a tremendous success. People leave. Why do they have to say we're going to be attacking Mosul within the next 4 to 6 weeks, which is what they're saying? How stupid is our country?
There are sometimes reasons the military does that. Psychological
I can't
warfare.
think of any. I can't think of any.
It
and I'm
might
pretty good
be to
at it.
help
We
get
have General
civilians
Flynn,
out.
And we have, look, I have 200 generals and admirals who endorse me. I have 21 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients who endorse me. We talk about it all the time. They understand. Why can't they do something secretively where they go in and they knock out the leadership? Why would these people stay there? I've been reading now
Tell
for
me
weeks.
what your
I've been
strategy
reading now
is.
for weeks about Mosul, that it's the harbor of where, between Raqqa and Mosul. This is where they think the ISIS leaders are. Why would they be staying? They're not staying there anymore. They're gone. Because everybody's talking about how Iraq, which is us with our leadership, goes in to fight Mosul. Now, with these 200 admirals and generals, they can't believe it. All I say is this: General George Patton, General Douglas MacArthur are spitting in their grave at the stupidity of what we're doing in the Middle East.
I'm going to go to Secretary Clinton. Secretary Clinton, you want Assad to go. You advocated arming rebels, but it looks like that may be too late for Aleppo. You talk about diplomatic efforts. Those have failed. Ceasefires have failed. Would you introduce the threat of U.S. military force beyond a no-fly zone against the Assad regime to back up diplomacy?
I would not use American ground forces in Syria. I think that would be a very serious mistake.
Hillary, please.
I don't think American troops should be holding territory, which is what they would have to do as an occupying force. I don't think that is a smart strategy.
No, she's been arming rebels
I do
already.
think the use of special
She's been
forces,
arming rebels
which we're
from her
using,
pocket.
the use
Saudi
of
Arabia.
enablers and trainers
Clinton
in Iraq,
Foundation.
which has had some positive effects, are very much
she'll
in our
create
interest.
she'll create
And so I
World
do
War III
support
with
what is
Russia. Sure
happening.
she
But
will.
let
So
me
what would you do differently than President Obama is doing?
Martha, I hope that by the time I hope by the time I am president, that we will have pushed ISIS out of Iraq. I do think that there is a good chance that we can take Mosul. And, Donald says he knows more about ISIS than the generals. No, he doesn't. There are a lot of very important planning going on.
Like
and
you
some
enable
of it
your husband.
is to signal to the Sunnis in the area, as well as Kurdish Peshmerga fighters, that we all need to be in this, and that takes a lot of planning and preparation. I would go after Baghdadi. I would specifically target Baghdadi.
Oh, she already knows she's going to be president because the fix is in.
Al-Qaeda leaders, and I was involved in a lot of those operations, highly classified ones, made a difference. So I think that could help. I would also consider arming the Kurds. The Kurds have been our best partners in Syria as well as Iraq. And I know there's a lot of concern about that in some circles, but I think they should have the equipment they need so that Kurdish and Arab fighters on the ground are the principal way that we take Raqqa after pushing ISIS out of Iraq.
Thank you very much. We're going to
move on.
She went over a minute over, and you don't stop her.
Pimp Big Daddy.
When I go 1 second over, it's like
you had many answers.
It's really very interesting.
We've got a question over here from
everything in Iraq.
Carter. Mr. Carter?
That's a bad idea.
My question is,
you've been funneling money from Turkey too, Saudi Arabia, Turkey.
You can be a
you've been giving ISIS all the equipment they need. Fact.
President to all the people in the United States.
That question begins for Mr. Trump.
Absolutely. I mean, she calls our people deplorable, a large group, and irredeemable. I will be a president for all of our people, and I'll be a president that will turn our inner cities around.
Don't fall apart.
And will give strength to people, and will give economics to people, and will bring jobs back, because NAFTA, signed by her husband, is perhaps the greatest disaster trade deal in the history of the world, not in this country. It stripped us of manufacturing jobs. We lost our jobs. We lost our money. We lost our plants. It is a disaster. And now she wants to sign TPP, even though she swore it. She called it the gold standard. And by the way, at the last debate, she lied, because it turned out that she didn't say gold standard, and she said she didn't say it. They actually said that she lied. Okay? And she lied. But she's lied about a lot of things. I would be a president for all of the people, African Americans, the inner cities. Devastating what's happening to our inner cities. She's been talking about it for years. As usual, she talks about it, nothing happens. She doesn't get it done. Same with the Latino Americans, the Hispanic Americans, the same exact thing. They talk, they don't get it done. You go into the inner cities and you see it's 45% poverty. African Americans now 45% poverty in the inner cities. The education is a disaster. Jobs are essentially non-existent. I mean, it's, you know, I've been saying at big speeches where I have 20 and 30,000 people, what do you have to lose? It can't get any worse. And she's been talking about the inner cities for 25 years. Nothing's going to ever happen. Let me tell you, if she's president of the United States, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to be talk. And all of her friends, the taxes we were talking about, and I would just get it by osmosis. She's not doing any me favors.
Hillary has
but by
to keep
doing all the others
down.
favors, she's doing me favors.
Mr. Trump, thank you.
But
what's
I will
the matter,
tell
Hillary?
you,
You can't stand
she's all
up.
talk,
If you can't stand up for the whole debate,
done. All you have to do is take a look at her
hall,
Senate run. Take a look at
what are you going to do in the White House?
2 minutes is up. Secretary Clinton, 2 minutes.
Yeah, high five.
You have 2 minutes, Secretary Clinton.
Well, 67% of the people voted to re-elect me when I ran for my second term, and I was very proud and very humbled by that. Mr. Carter, I have tried my entire life to do what I can to support children and families. You know, right out of law school, I went to work for the Children's Defense Fund, and Donald talks a lot about, you know, the 30 years I've been in public service. I'm proud of that. You know, I started off as a young lawyer working against discrimination against African-American children in schools and in the criminal justice system. I work to make sure that kids with disabilities can get a public education, something that I care very much about. I have worked with Latinos. One of my first jobs in politics was down in South Texas, registering Latino citizens to be able to vote. So I have a deep devotion, to use your absolutely correct word, to making sure that every American feels like he or she has a place in our country. And I think when you look at the letters that I get, a lot of people are worried that maybe they wouldn't have a place in Donald Trump's America. They write me, and
Oh, yeah.
one woman wrote me
You're the
about
last
her
person I'd ever
son,
let have
Felix.
hold
She
my kid.
adopted him from Ethiopia when he was a toddler.
I wouldn't
He's
even let
10
you
years
hold my
old. That was
dog.
the only country he's ever known.
Cat.
And he listens to Donald on TV, and he said to his mother one day, will he send me back to Ethiopia if he gets elected? You know, children listen to what is being
She's a
said. To
babbling
go back
idiot.
to the very, very first question.
Total idiot.
And there's a lot
Lying,
of fear that, in fact,
babbling
teachers
idiot.
and
The
parents
letters
are
you
calling
get?
it the Trump effect. Bullying is up. A lot of people are feeling, you know,
And Hillary's
uneasy. A lot of
America's
kids
what?
are expressing their concerns.
Hillary,
So
oh,
first and
she's
foremost,
tripping up, bro.
I will do everything I can to reach
She's
out to
tripping
everybody.
up.
Democrats, Republicans,
She's getting-
independents,
she's
people
losing
across
it.
our
I'm telling
country.
y'all,
If
she's
you don't
losing
vote
it.
for me, I still want to be your president.
losing
I
it.
want to be
2 minutes
the
is up.
best president I can be for every American.
Secretary Clinton, your 2 minutes is up. I want to follow
Ethiopia.
up on something that Donald Trump actually said to you. A comment
Answer
you
the
made last
question,
month. You said
Hillary.
that half of Donald Trump's supporters are, quote, deplorables, racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic. You later said you regretted saying half. You didn't express regret for using the term deplorables.
God.
To Mr. Carter's question, how can you unite a country if you've written off tens of millions of Americans?
First and
Well,
foremost.
within hours, I said that I was sorry about the way I talked about that, because my argument is not with his supporters. It's with him and with the hateful and divisive campaign that he has run, and the inciting of violence at his rallies, and the very brutal kinds of comments about not just women, but all Americans, all kinds of Americans. And what he has said about African Americans and Latinos, about Muslims, about POWs, about immigrants, about people with disabilities, he's never apologized for. And so I do think that a lot of the tone and tenor that he has said, I'm proud of the campaign that Bernie Sanders and I ran. We ran a
my
campaign
God.
based on issues, not insults, and he is supporting me
Hillary,
100%.
Hillary. What are we
Because
gonna do
we
with you?
talked about what we wanted to do.
Lock
We might
you
have
the
had
fuck
some
up. That's what we're gonna
differences,
do with you.
and we had a lot of
Thank you,
debates,
Secretary.
but we believed that we could make the country better, and I was proud of
I'm
that.
going to give you a minute, 20
We
seconds.
have a divided nation. We have a very divided nation. You look at Charlotte, you look at Baltimore, you look at the violence that's taking place
That's
in the
it.
inner
Sit back
cities,
down.
Chicago.
Yep.
You take a look at Washington, D.C. We have a increase in murder within our
You
cities.
cheated.
The biggest in
Sorry, Donald, I
45
didn't mean to
years.
cut you off.
We have a divided nation because people like her, and believe me, she has tremendous hate in her heart. And when she said deplorables, she meant it. And when she said irredeemable, they're irredeemable. You didn't mention that. But when she said they're irredeemable, to me, that might have been even worse.
She said
She's
some of
got
them are irredeemable.
She's got tremendous hatred. And this country cannot take another 4 years of Barack Obama. And that's what you're getting with her.
Mr. Trump, let me follow up with you. In 2008, you wrote in one of your books that the most important characteristic of a good leader is discipline. You said if a leader doesn't have that, quote, he or she won't be one for very long. In the days after the first debate, you sent out a series of tweets from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., including one that told people to check out a sex tape. Is that the discipline of a good
No,
leader?
it wasn't check out a sex tape. It was just take a look at the person that she built up to be this wonderful Girl Scout who was no Girl Scout.
Oh,
And by the way,
God.
just so you
Anderson,
understand, when
shut
she said
up.
3 o'clock in the morning, take a look at Benghazi. She
Mr.
said,
Peanut,
who's
go
going to
crawl
answer
back
the call
into your
at 3
house.
o'clock in the morning? Guess what? She didn't answer because when Ambassador
2008?
Is that the discipline of a good leader?
600 times. She said she was awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. And she also sent a tweet out at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I won't even mention that. But she said she'll be awake. Who's going to, the famous thing, we're going to answer our call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Guess what happened? Ambassador Stevens sent 600 requests for help. And the only one she talked to was Sidney Blumenthal, who's her friend.
Don't get
and not a
upset,
good
Donald.
guy, by the way. So, you know, she shouldn't be talking about that. Now, tweeting happens to be a modern day form of communication. I mean, you can like it or not like it. I have, between Facebook and Twitter, I have almost 25 million people. It's a very effective way of communication. So you can put it down, but it is a very effective form of communication. I'm not unproud of it, to be honest with you.
Secretary Clinton, is Mr. Trump disciplined to be a good leader?
No.
She's laughing again with that smirk.
Well, it's not only my opinion, it's the opinion of many others, national security experts, Republicans, former Republican members of Congress. But it's in part those of us who have had the great privilege of seeing
Hillary, please
this
sit
job
back down.
close and know how difficult it is, and it's not just because I
She
watched
can't
my
even
husband
stand through the whole
take a
debate. She's got to
$300
sit
billion
down.
deficit and turn it into a $200 billion
Oh,
surplus.
that's a sandbag
And 23 million new jobs were created, and incomes went up for everybody. Everybody. African-American incomes went up 33%. And it's not just because I worked with George W. Bush after 9/11.
Yeah, everybody you paid, Hillary.
When I told him what the city needed,
Everybody
to
you own.
recover, he said, "You've got it," and he never wavered. He stuck with me.
Oh, those of us who had
And I
the
have
great
worked, and I
privilege. Did you hear what you
President
said a little
Obama.
bit ago?
He inherited the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. That was a terrible time for our country.
We have to move along.
9 million people.
Oh,
Secretary
that's
Clinton,
a
we have to-
crock
5
of
million homes were
shit.
lost. And
Secretary Clinton,
$13
we're moving
trillion
on.
in family wealth was wiped out. We are back on the right track. He would send us back into recession with his tax
Mother,
plans.
there's your
Secretary
buddy
Clinton,
Bush.
we're moving to an audience question. We're
Selling
almost out
cocaine
of
with
time.
your-
We
with
have
your
another-
husband back in the day.
Mr. Trump,
Since
we're moving to an audience question.
1929,
Yep.
it is our country
Mr. Trump,
has the
Secretary
slowest growth,
Clinton, we
and
want to get
jobs
to
are a
the audience.
disaster.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Oh,
We have another audience question. Beth Miller has a question for both candidates.
you're boring, Hillary.
Good evening. Perhaps the most important aspect of this
Shut her
election
off.
is the Supreme Court justice. What would you prioritize as the most important aspect of selecting a Supreme Court justice?
We begin with your 2 minutes, Secretary Clinton.
Thank you. Well, you're right. This is one of the most important issues in this election. I want to appoint Supreme Court justices who understand the way the world really works, who have real life experience, who have not just been in a big law firm and maybe clerked for a judge and then gotten on the bench, but maybe they tried some more cases. They actually understand what people are up against, because I think the current court has gone in the wrong direction. And so I would want to see the Supreme Court reverse Citizens United and get
Hold it
dark
to the 2
federal
minutes.
money out of our politics. Donald doesn't agree with that. I would like the Supreme Court to understand that
Good
voting
God,
rights are
please do
still
not
a big
allow this
problem
woman
in
to
many
appoint our
parts of our
Supreme Court
country.
justices will
That
be
we
in
don't
forever
always do everything
lost.
we
Think
can
about
to
that,
make
people.
it possible
This
for
lying,
people of
deceptive
color
woman
and
to be in charge of
young
electing our
people to
next
be able
Supreme
to
Court justice
exercise
that
their
could be with us for
franchise.
20 years
I want a
with her
Supreme
one
Court
world order.
that will stick with Roe v. Wade and a woman's right to
Oh,
choose, and
sure
I want
you
a
do.
Supreme Court that will stick with
That's
marriage
probably
equality.
how you
Now,
and others
Donald
had
has put
Scalia
forth the names of
whacked
some
off.
people that he would consider. And among the ones that he has suggested are people who would reverse Roe v. Wade and reverse marriage equality. I think that would be a terrible mistake and would take
Voting
us
rights?
backwards.
You're a cheater.
I want a Supreme
You
Court
cheated
that doesn't
Bernie.
always side with corporate interests.
your party.
I want a Supreme
You've
Court
rigged
that
elections.
understands
You-
because
they're
you're
just-
wealthy,
they've been
you
getting
give
caught
more money to
every
something
day.
doesn't mean you have any more rights or should have any more rights than anybody else. So I have very clear views about what
You
I
want a
want to
Supreme
see to
Court that you're gonna be able to
change the
fucking run
balance
and pay
on the
off.
Supreme Court. And I regret deeply that the Senate has not done its job. And they have not permitted a vote on the person that President Obama, a highly qualified person, to have the full complement of 9 Supreme Court justices. I think that was a dereliction of duty. I hope that they will see
my God.
their way to doing it, but if I am so fortunate enough as to be president, I will immediately move to make sure that we fill that. We have 9
Thank you,
justices
Your clear
Secretary
views
who work on behalf of
have
our
to do with
people.
your
Thank you. You're
luxury
out of time,
lifestyle
Mr.
and your
Trump.
2 different sides.
Justice Scalia
The personal one and the one that
Great
you put on here, as
judge.
your own emails say.
died recently. And
Come on, Donald.
we have a vacancy. I am
Oh,
looking to
my
appoint
Come on, Donald.
judges very much in the mold of Justice Scalia. I'm looking for judges, and I've actually picked 20 of them so that people would see highly respected, highly thought of, and actually very beautifully reviewed by just about everybody, but people that will respect the Constitution of the United States. And I think that this is so
Scalia was one of the best.
Also, the Second Amendment, which is totally
He's
under
murdered, in
siege
my
by
opinion.
people like Hillary Clinton. They'll respect the Second Amendment and what it stands for, what it represents. So, Hillary mentioned something about contributions, just so I understand. So I will have in my race more than $100 million put in of my money. I'm not taking all of this big money from all of these different corporations. What I ask is this. I'm putting in more than, by the time it's finished, I'll have more than $100 million invested.
Obama and Hillary
Pretty much self-funding mine. We're raising money for the Republican Party, and we're doing tremendously with small donations, $61 average or so. I asked Hillary, why doesn't she made $250 million by being in office? She used the power of her office to make a lot of money.
She will rob us of our money.
Why isn't she funding, not for 100
Look at
million,
her.
but
Look
why
at
don't you
her.
put 10,
Look at her.
or $30 million
Look at her.
into your own campaign?
Look at this woman.
It's $30 million less for special interests that will tell you exactly what to do.
She's like, I already bought the election, Donald. I don't give a fuck what you say.
To the American public. Why aren't you putting some money in? You have a lot of it. You've made a lot of it.
Yep, I
because
agree.
of the fact that you've been in office. You made a lot of it while you were Secretary of State, actually. So why aren't you putting money into your own campaign? I'm just curious.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to get on to one more question.
Quickly say,
Very quickly.
I respect the Second Amendment, but I believe there should be comprehensive background checks, and we should close the gun show loophole and close the online loophole.
We have one more question,
as many
Mrs.
lives
Clinton.
as we possibly can.
We have one more question from Ken Bone about energy policy. Ken?
What steps will your energy policy take to meet our energy needs while at the same time remaining environmentally friendly and minimizing job loss for fossil power plant workers?
They just cut him off.
I think it's such a great question because energy is under siege by the Obama
God, you're
administration.
lying.
Under absolute
Not
siege.
Donald. Sorry,
The
everybody.
EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, is killing these energy companies.
Shut.
And
Let Donald.
foreign companies are now coming in, buying so many of our different plants, and then rejiggering the plant so that they can take care of their oil. We are killing, absolutely killing, our energy business in this country. Now, I'm all for alternative forms of energy, including wind, including solar, etc. But we need much more than wind and solar. And you look at our miners. Hillary Clinton wants to put all the miners out of business. There is a thing called clean coal. Coal will last for 1,000 years in this country. Now we have natural gas. Some other things, because of technology, we have unbelievable. We have found over the last 7 years, we have found tremendous wealth right under our
Donald
feet.
is
So
beating
good,
her to the
especially when you have 20 trillion
bits
in
in this
debt.
debate.
Now, I will bring our energy companies back. They'll be able to compete. They'll make money. They'll pay off our national debt. They'll pay off our tremendous budget deficits, which are tremendous. But we are putting our energy companies out of business. We have to bring back our workers. You take a look at what's happening to steel and the
Bankrupt
cost of
Pennsylvania
steel,
if you don't
and
keep
China
coal.
dumping vast amounts of steel all over the
many
United
other
States, which essentially is killing our steel workers and our steel companies. We have to guide our energy companies. We have to make it possible. The EPA is so restrictive that they are putting our energy companies out of business.
He's on
And all you
fire
have to do
tonight,
is go to
everybody.
a great place
He's
like
killing
West
this
Virginia
debate.
or places like Ohio, which is phenomenal, or places like Pennsylvania, and you see what they're doing to the people, miners and others in the energy
to
business.
China.
It's a disgrace.
Your time is up. Thank you,
It's
sir.
an absolute disgrace.
Secretary Clinton, 2 minutes.
Boom.
Well, that was very interesting. First of all, China is illegally dumping steel in the United States, and Donald Trump is buying it to build his buildings, putting steel workers and American steel plants out of business. That's something that I fought against as a senator, and that I would
What
have
the fuck was that,
a
Hillary?
trade prosecutor to make sure that we
Unbelievable.
don't get taken advantage of by China on
Go
steel
sit
or
back in your
anything else.
chair. You can't even stand
You
during
know,
the whole
because
debate.
it sounds like you're in the business or you're aware of people in the business. You know that we are now, for the first time ever, energy independent.
Oh,
We are not
there's-
dependent
oh,
upon the
my
Middle
God.
East, but the Middle East still controls a lot of the prices. So the price of oil has been way down, and that has had a damaging effect on a lot of the oil companies, right? We are, however, producing a lot of natural gas, which serves as a bridge to more
That's because there's
renewable
no more
fuels.
steel
And I think
plants
that's
in
an
America
important,
because we allowed
transition.
China to come in and buy
We've
them.
got to
So
remain
there's no real
energy
place to
independent.
get
It
steel
gives
in
us
America
much
anymore.
more
It's so
power and
limited.
freedom than to be worried about what goes on in the Middle East. We have enough worries over there without having to worry about that.
Concur with Anderson Cooper.
So I have a comprehensive energy policy, but it really does include fighting climate change, because I think that is a serious problem. And I support moving toward more clean, renewable energy as quickly as we can, because I think we can be the 21st century clean energy superpower and create millions of new jobs and businesses. But I also want to be sure that we don't leave people behind. That's why I'm the only candidate from the very beginning of this campaign who had a plan to help us revitalize coal country.
You are so full of shit.
Because those coal miners and their fathers and their grandfathers,
sit back down.
They dug that coal out. A lot of them lost their lives.
Oh,
they
there
were
we go with the
injured,
fake
but they
climate
turned the lights
change.
on and they powered our factories. I don't want to walk away
Global
from them.
warming,
So we've got to do something for them.
To be
but
nothing
the price
but
of
a
coal is
smokescreen
down
of BS.
worldwide. So we have to look at this comprehensively, and that's exactly what I have proposed. I hope we'll go to HillaryClinton.com
and you're going to cut off your friend Saudi Arabia?
We've sneaked in one more question, and it comes from Carl Becker.
Good evening. My question to both of you is, regardless of the current rhetoric, would either of you name one positive thing that you respect in one another?
Mr. Trump, would you like to go first?
Well, I certainly will, because I think that's a very fair and important question. Look, I respect his children.
Oh, boy.
His children are incredibly able
Hillary,
and
sit
devoted,
back down.
and I think that says a lot about Donald. I don't agree with nearly anything else he says or does, but I do respect that. And I think that is something that, as a mother and a grandmother, is very important to me. So I believe that this election has become, in part, so conflict-oriented, so intense, because there's a lot at stake. This is not an ordinary time, and this is not.
That just means you just showed respect for him, because he raised his children.
We are going to be choosing a president who will set policy.
He's the father to his children.
Not just 4 or 8 years.
So you're giving him
some
respect.
of the important decisions we have to make here at home and around the world, from the Supreme Court to energy and so much else. And so there is a lot at stake. It's one of the most consequential elections that we've had. And that's why I tried to put forth specific policies and plans, trying to get it off of the personal and put it on to what it is I want to do as president. And that's why I hope people will check on that for themselves, so that they can see that, yes, I've spent 30 years, actually maybe a little more, working to help kids and families, and I want to take all that experience to the White House and do that every single day.
Mr. Trump.
To do it?
Well, I consider her statement about my children to be a very nice compliment. I don't know if it was meant to be a compliment, but it is a great. I'm very proud of my children, and they've done a wonderful job, and they've been wonderful, wonderful kids.
Look at her face, everybody.
I consider that a compliment.
She is not well, this woman. I will say this
about Hillary. She doesn't quit. She doesn't give up. I respect that. I tell it like it is. She's a fighter.
Bravo, Donald.
I disagree with much of what she's fighting for.
Tons of respect.
I do disagree with her judgment in many cases. But she does fight hard, and she doesn't quit, and she doesn't give up. And I consider that to be a very good trait.
Thanks to both of you.
I want to thank both the candidates. I want to thank the university here. This concludes the town hall meeting.
That's complimenting Donald Trump.
The commission, Washington University, and to everybody who watched.
Please tune in on October 19th for the final presidential debate that will take place at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Good night, everyone.
There you have it. The second face-off between Secretary Clinton.
Bravo. Bravo. Okay, everybody. I believe Donald Trump won this debate hands down, and I want to get your take. Just let me get back on the screen here. so I can see your questions, and I want to hear your take. And this, I believe Donald Trump crushed it tonight. Crushed it. Crushed it, crushed it, crushed it. So, and I believe Hillary, she just reunified my total lack of respect for her and her. She is deplorable for 100%. She's deplorable. And it makes me sick because she lied up there again tonight. Fact check us at Hillary Clinton. Come to my website, read more of my bullshit. Understand? So, okay, guys. He did great, and he had to do great on this. Excuse me 1 second. Let me get this so I can see everybody's questions, and that's what I want to do here. Bill Holte did great. He did excellent. He nailed it home. I fully believe he nailed it home, and he knocked it out of the park. Yes, Bob, he definitely did. Jeff, he definitely won. Hi, Becky. How are you? Thank you guys for tuning in. And please share this. I mean, when we're done here, I want to take some questions from you guys and any concerns you have and what you really thought. Yes, Joan, he started a little slow, but he kept dumping and he did what he did, and he did it respectfully. He didn't lose his cool, and his demeanor was very, very good through the whole thing. I think he did fabulous. Hi, Wendy. How are you? Yes, Donald totally won. And he took control of the debate from the beginning. Hi, Kelly. How are you? Thank you for joining in. Hi, Becky. He was on his game plan tonight, everybody. He was definitely on his game plan, and I'm excited. I'm very excited. Yep, the old Donald is back, and he's very confident. Thank you, Christy. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hi, Ann. How are you? And we have some great shows coming up, everybody. I want you to know that I'm going to be having one of the Gold Star moms on from Benghazi. The tragedy, she lost her son in Benghazi, and I believe Hillary murdered those soldiers and the ambassador. And that's my take and the information I've seen and the evidence ship points. And I believe the next WikiLeaks dump is going to prove that and nail her coffin on that. And that's going to end her career. That's going to end her career for sure. Hi, Marcy. Hi, Mercy. How are you? Hi, Deanna. Hi, Laura. How are you? Thank you for joining in. Hi, Renee. Hi, Rainey. Yes, let's talk about that. Donald won hands down. Debbie, I look like I need to go to sleep. Thanks. I think I look pretty good. He was calm and cool. Yes, nice venue. Thank you, Bill. He's the man. And the percentage should go up after this debate. And I believe the Republicans are going to be eating their words for sure. That jumped too fast out on him. And he handled it very, very well. And he had the women that Bill Bill got, accused of raping in the audience. And I believe that's a master plan for him. And it intimidated Hillary Clinton. And that was his bomb. She didn't know that they were going to be there. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much. Fox Business calls him Donald the winner. Yes. I told you all, we all stick together with this. Now, let's share this debate all around. Let's make this video go viral. I'm not selling anything on here. What I want to sell is all of you, your wonderful comments, and I want to sell Donald Trump. He did great tonight. We need to make this go viral everywhere because I will say this, Anderson Cooper, though, you could tell he's been bought. Anderson Cooper let her speak much longer. And when we look at the end of this debate, we see the statistics. Hi, Chris. How are you? Yes, they do, sweetie. They need to get a grip on reality, for sure. Great move by him. Bill looked nervous. Yeah, I saw that too. He sure did. Hi, Lynn. How are you? Thank you for joining. Yes, Donald Trump is definitely the winner. Hi, Ann. Hi, Carrie. How are you? Yes, I agree. He definitely won. And bringing in Bill's past, I have to say this to everybody, Hi, Neil. How are you? Hi, Maria. Hi, Mercy. Yes, I have to say this to you. And I told you I was right on the money. She was going to blame Russia on those emails. And I believe she's going to say just so you know, before the debate, she had one of her people on, an African American. I forgot her name because that's how much I don't pay attention to Hillary Stooges, because they're just, unless they're super important. But she was on, and she was saying, and she was on Fox, and he kept asking her, will Hillary Clinton, are those her transcripts from the banks, from Saks and the other one overseas, etc. And she wouldn't say that they were or they weren't. And then she said, well, if they're not, why won't she turn over the scripts that she has, the real scripts? Well, she won't turn over. And right away, you know what they said? When Donald Trump turns over his taxes, she'll turn over the scripts to the banking speeches. She's never wanted the banking speeches to come out because she would have never got the nomination if the Democratic Party would have seen those. In Hillary's America, and that movie you need to see, Hillary's America, comes out on DVD, everything, the 11th. Hi, Rose. Bill the White Owl, yes. Yep, Louis, he definitely did. Thanks, Mercy. I appreciate it. Hi, Irene. How are you? I hope you guys enjoyed the debate. I knew she was going to blame Russia. I knew she was going to blame Russia, and I called that, and my inside people even knew there's somebody, I got some good info from the Clinton camp. Thank you, Valerie, so much for sharing the show. She was taking notes. Yes, Hillary's America. Did you notice Hillary couldn't stand up through the whole? She could not stand up through the entire. I want you to pick up on this, everybody. She could not stand up. She could not stand up. And I'm taking these off now. She could not stand up. She could not stand up at all. Yes, he took the gloves off, but he did it very professionally. Hi, Kat. How are you? The UN already has a hold of the internet, just so you know. ICANN has a hold of the internet. Hi, Patricia. How are you? Hi, Irene. Hi, Kathy. He killed it, Kathy. He killed it for sure. Anderson Cooper needs to go back in his Peanut Man box. He reminds me of the Peanut Man. He just truly does. Hi, Ray. How are you? Yes, you're right. Solar energy. Here's the funny thing. I want you to hear something. Ban MSM. Yeah, I saw her eyes. No, she couldn't stand up through the whole debate. She had to have a chair. She was sitting down through most of it. What do you think about that? That's what I'm telling you. I'm going to tell you this because I know it for a fact, and it's going to be something I'm going to be announcing soon and making it. I want it to go viral. She really is not well. She's not well. Okay, and I know I'm from New York. We have some people there, and I'm working on something to get some information. And HIPAA laws prevent a lot of things. However, people are leaking lots of information that don't like Hillary Clinton, whether they may be dead, doctors, whatever. So you stay tuned for that, because she spent some time in the hospital, and guess what she was treated for? Parkinson's disease. Okay? And it came from the fall that she had with the blood clot in her head with thrombosis, okay? Deep vein thrombosis. She's not stable. And everything that you've seen of her in her head going like this, and I have nothing against anybody who has seizure disorders or any of the above, so I don't want anybody to think that. But I have something against lying Hillary Clinton, hiding that from the American public. I believe that's treasonous not to tell the world that she has a very serious health problem. And it just goes with her whole lying scandalous career of 30 years and more. It goes back to her even younger. Hi, Denny. Yes, Donald killed it. Nicholas, I want to see your C's. Hi, Linda. I know, Linda, that's a very good point. And I say that a lot. Kane, when Hillary dumps, and she's going to dump, I'm going to say that. It's sad to say, but Hillary's going to drop. Would you want Kane as president? I would take Pence in a second. God forbid something happened to Donald Trump. For sure. Pence could handle it. Kane? Creepy Kane? Kane is like, the guy's like something out of, I don't know, the Monster Mash. I mean, good God. I mean, he's like something out of that. Yes, Patricia, if she announced her true health, she wouldn't be able to run. But see, the idea is to get her in the White House, get these two bozos in there, and take charge and let the agenda go through. Donald Trump, everybody, just so you know, Obamacare has got to go, because in November, it's going to jump 24 to 50% for the average American. And here's the point. You're going to end up in jail and be fined and go to jail if you don't have Obamacare. That is the most communistic, socialistic thing I've ever heard of. The IRS has got a special division for it. Hi, Ivana. How do I pronounce it? Ebony? Hi, Tom. Yes, you see her eyes? She's always smirking. She's like this. You know, she's smirking like she's better than everybody else. And that's what, if you look at her emails and you look at the things she said in her banker speeches, it all goes with that she thinks she's better than everybody else, and that there's two classes here. There's Hillary's class, and then there's our class. And that's the scary part. That is the scary part. She believes, and this is what these elite believe, there's two classes in America. Get the fuck out of here. I'm going to say it now. I'm sorry. I have to say it. We're all equal. We're all human beings. I don't care how much money you have. Okay? We're all equal. And in Hillary's America, and in Hillary's globalization, and Obama's globalization, we're just the chess pieces. George Soros's world, we're just the chess pieces. Hi, Aileen. Where has Pence been? They all wanted to see how Donald Trump did tonight, you see? And Donald Trump knocked it out of the park, and you're going to see a lot of things change tomorrow and the next day. So now Hillary's going to come forth and say the emails were doctored. So now maybe American press that's not bought, can we focus on the real stories, the emails, the Clinton Foundation, all the good stuff that has to be focused on, and not the tape of Donald Trump, okay? Just so you know, the polls are showing that most of America does not care about what Donald Trump said 10 years ago, even though the press is trying to feed you something else. They want you to believe that everyone is outraged, and they're not. Hi, Rosie. Hi, Stephanie. How are you? Yeah, how about our veto line? That was great. Yes, Tom, the Bilderberger Group class. That's correct. And the rest were all slobs. And the best is, she said the best was about the emails. I never lied about that. That's not true. I never said that. She said, what? Even Comey, even your bought stooge said you did before Congress. Even your own guy, your own paid off man before Congress, because you had to throw him a bone with something. Hi, Michelle. So, it has to be. Hi, Laura. Laura, Kane violates you. I don't blame you. He violates me. He looks like a child molester to me, if you want to know the truth. Sorry to say. Okay, and any man who makes a statement, his wife, wants to bring on a third partner, it tells me maybe Kane is in the closet. And I got nothing against homosexual. My son is gay, but I have a big thing against pedophiles, and I have a big thing about in the closet people who hide and like to play off that they're not. So she lied. Yes, thank you, Elaine. Alex Jones is gone. Listen, I like Alex Jones, but Alex Jones gets out of the park on a lot of stuff, and I like Alex, and it's a lot of stuff. Kane is not able. Yes, Louis, very good. That's Irene. He's creepy, all right. He's very creepy. Thanks, Louis. I try to be funny and stay real at the same time, and that's all we have to be. That's all we have in life. One thing I want to say to everybody, please always remember to be real, be yourself. You want to stand up for Donald Trump, and then we can't stop now. Listen, this debate just locked in the rest for him, okay? We have 30 days roughly to go here. We need to hit this hard. We need to keep getting out. I'm going to keep bringing you information. We need to keep sharing it, because I'm telling you, the online numbers are pushing WikiLeaks and the truth to the top. This debate now will be the top thing out there. Share this video. I'm going to upload it to my YouTube channels, my Vimeo channels as well, and directly to both sites. Hi, Valerie. How are you? Yes, I know no better than to telling it like it is. And that's something I learned in life. And I believe Donald Trump has learned through this whole campaign over the past year a lot about himself by seeing and going through America and meeting all these people and really seeing the truth about what America is about. And he meets a lot of average people every day with what he does with construction things, but he got to see the heartlands of America. He got to see all the coal mining. He got to go to Michigan and see the poisoned water. He got to go all over this country, and he's speaking all over the place. Hillary Clinton can't even stand up through this whole debate. How do you expect her to stand for 4 years in the White House? How do you expect her to stand for 4 years in the White House? I love how she tried to, I knew it was coming about Russia with the emails. Hi, Christine, how are you? How could you even stand in the White House for 4 years, Hillary? You can't even stand through a debate. And you watch her face and her head, she's changed. That's from the anti-seizure medicine she's taking. Trust me, she's taking it. Hi, Shelly. How are you? Hi, Mercy. How are you? Thank you, you guys. Well, there you go, Hillary. Abe Lincoln. Oh, wait. We have to talk about Abe Lincoln before we end this. We have to talk about Abe Lincoln. Rob, what happened to me? I froze up. Hi, Vinny. Hi, Christy. Can you guys still hear me? Just let me know. She's got twisted eyes for sure. Thank you. God bless all of you guys. And please, let's share this and let's make an announcement how Donald Trump rocked this out of the park. Yes, I know he went to the Haitian president, and he did. So thank you all. I can't see anything on the screen, so Facebook cut us off? Okay. All right, guys. Thank you again. God bless. Thank you for joining in. I love you all. Let's share this and let's continue to take back America. Let's take back America. And then the story. Good night. God bless.